Order, please. This regular meeting of the Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors for March 5. It's now in session at 17:30, 5:30 hours. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is this way. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Presenter. Thank you very much. Determination of a quorum. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Flowin,
Present.
Vice President Doolittle,
Present.
Director Fick.
Here.
Director Charlesburg.
Here.
And Director Shorts.
Here.
Director Shorts, remote notifications. Thank you.
And we should state for the record, Director Short, just the basis on, I'm assuming it's illness, it sounds like, for participating remotely, and just confirm that if there's anyone else over 18 in the room.
No, I'm the only one in the room.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we forgot that part. I did too.
It's a very odd aspect of the Brown Act, but
Oh, that's why you're here to point these things out. The other thing. Well, all the directors are present one way or another. Approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? I have to pause for that. We have a motion is approved. Public comment. This designated time is for members of the public to provide comments on any district-related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. Under provisions of the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking actions on items not listed on the agenda. At the discretion of the board president, comments on a particular agendized item may be deferred until that item is heard. Do we have a public comment, please? Hearing none. General Manager Johnson, is there written, electronic, or voicemail public comment?
No, sir, none to my knowledge.
Thank you very much. Public comment time is now closed. Consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. If a board member would like an item handled separately, it will be removed from the consent agenda, for separate action. We have one item on the consent calendar. It's the draft minutes for the board meeting of February 19. Does anyone want to remove this item from the consent calendar for discussion?
Yes, I would like to remove the notes.
Okay, that's now item 6, which is the draft minutes for the board meeting February 19. Vice President Doolittle.
Yeah, there are just a couple of clarifications on page 9. I appreciate, again, these great notes. And, it's perhaps, I'm not denying that I said this and it was understood this way. It's just a matter of reading it now. I'm like, that's not exactly what I meant. And so when I asked on the first bullet, when I asked the check register be pulled from the consent calendar, since it was it's not, I was trying to say that since we no longer have the finance committee, it is not, as the consent calendar says, expected to be routine and non-controversial because it hasn't been reviewed by any board members. So that's what I was trying to say. It doesn't seem like it would be the consent calendar, but would be its own separate thing. So be pulled since we no longer have the I don't know how that should be stated, but that's what I meant about that. So I guess you can leave it like that. And then on the last bullet, I really appreciate you including all this content, but arguing that it reduces transparency and board oversight while primarily benefiting the district by eliminating this transparency and preparation requirements. That's fine, just this transparency. Okay. That was it. So thank you.
Anything further? Is there a motion to approve item number 6? The draft minutes of the February 19 meeting. Second,
You may wish to clarify if that's as amended per the request.
As amended.
Lisa, you got the amendments noted? Okay, thank you.
I think we need a voice vote on because we have a remote guy.
That would probably be preferable. Yes.
It's required. Yes, you're correct.
General Manager Johnson, roll call, please.
President Flowens, well, do we still need a motion?
You got a motion, but we need a second.
I thought you said-
All right, I'll second him.
Thank you. President Flowens,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Dr. Charlesberg.
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Motion carried. Discussion action calendar, memorandum of intent between Joshua Tree National Park Association and Joshua Basin Water District. Public outreach person Kathleen Radnich, if you please.
Yeah.
I know you think it's too close. And so I expected you to do that.
More comfortable now. Okay, well.
Yeah.
This is long overdue. A little bit of history here. In 2014, it was determined that there was the opportunity to work with the national park. They had a need, we had a need. They were different, but they accomplished the same goal. The needs were, they needed to start attacking invasive plants throughout the area. And we needed people for water conservation to plant native plants. So the park, which has a nursery, and they're in the business of growing plants, but not in the business of selling to the public, determined that we could do the outreach and distribute and sell these plants, and they were willing to grow them, and they would help us teach our public. So it was like a win-win. But when we started in 2014 with this dialogue, we had one major problem, and that problem was we didn't have any plants. So we went with packages of desert marigolds, which were approved by the park to seed the whole world out here. And they grew 400 of these plants. That's a lot of desert marigolds. And 400, okay, let's do it. And the community was so supportive. They came and they did help go through, I'd say, about 360 of them. So it was, they understood the mission, they supported it, and we went forward. And then they came and started teaching with me the wildcrafting side of it. And we taught our volunteers how to go out and collect seeds. And fast forward in 2016, we received a state award from Aqua for communications and water conservation based on this project. By combining needs, win-win, everyone won on this project. So it was a very positive and contracted. It was an MOU back then. Fast forward, here we are now, still going, still hanging through COVID. We at least had the plant sale. Here we are now, it's I should say it started in 2024. The contract was ending Easter Sunday. So because we had not worked through all the minutia of another contract, we bumped up the sale by 1 week. We were still under contract. The plants came in, life happened, money was good. And then the national park determined that they were no longer, and it's protocols that are beyond me, but they were no longer in a position to just negotiate the funds between us as a government entity and themselves. And so what had to happen was we had to work through their nonprofit arm, which is the Joshua Tree National Park Association. And that meant we had to sit down and talk. And from that, and it took a long time, memorandum of intent, I guess it's called.
Mhm.
Either way, we agree. They want to do it. It's part of their mission statement to help the park to do this. It keeps our program going strong. And we are now proudly saying it's before you to vote on to go forward because we now have a mechanism to move the monies. And so, Lisa, if you just briefly, this is such a simple memorandum agreement. And like I said, we're all on the same page with this one. So I will entertain, it's quick. Let me just go through this. What we as the water district agree to do, we will, after the plant sale, donate 50% of the proceeds. This is basically the spoken agreement we've had for 10 years. And it didn't mean anyone was auditing anyone. We just, on a handshake, this is what we did. And that we will comply with all the branding, labeling, and promotional material requirements as set forth by the National Park Service, the park, and the Joshua National Park Associations. And you have seen the contract in your packet. I'm sure you can see all the little stuff we have to worry about, you know, logos have to be pre-approved and pre-colors and all that stuff. So, which is no big deal. We can do that. So now, the next slide, back one. Oh. Are we out of order? I must be. So what, okay, I need what the park. Do you have what the national park?
That's the first slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgiveness here. Okay, so the association, their job as the nonprofit is when they accept the donations, they're in agreement, they will earmark our money for the nursery at the park. That's a locked-in agreement, and that they make sure that the monies are coming from us as intended, not from some other source that they don't approve of. And then they will forward it to the National Park Nursery so they can continue buying the dirt, buying the containers, doing what they do. And they will also help promote the native plant sale in their membership newsletter. And we're all happy campers. This is everything we can want. It's kind of how we've been operating before, but that was an additional plus. So on the benefits, the National Park Association is able to kind of, you know, dovetail onto the success of this program. They can put a feather in their cap. They can say, we're also doing this for the community. They're helping 2 government entities. And so it's a win-win for them. And it allows us to continue with our effective conservation program. And I just want to say, I'm going to stand here today after 14 years. We have no lawns in Joshua Tree that I see. So I think the message is getting out there, grow native. And then the national park, they continue their invasive plant mitigation program, which is really struggling. They're just really struggling with a lot of invasive plants coming in unintentionally. And there'll be courses on that. We cover that. I mean, we're training on it, and that's why they're into this very much so, to help us teach. And that it makes them look good, that they are working with local people. They're being a good neighbor to us. And they're also complying with their new funding rules with the national park that started before September, I think it was, where we were notified that they couldn't accept our funds directly from us. So everyone wins on this. It's kind of straightforward. And other than that, nothing's changing. We're doing what we do and the community wants it. So I will entertain any questions regarding the contract that you see in your packet.
Vice President Doolittle?
I have nothing to say on the contract. You know, it's beautiful. I just want to say, wow, since 2014, that's amazing. And this is just another example of the rich legacy you've been building at JBWD, and your earnest efforts will impact water savings and beauty in our area far into the future. So thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kathleen, once again. Thank you.
It's very kind.
That's a pick.
Well, I'm appreciative of it. I'm curious, why did the National Park Service say they can't go forward with this, or is it too complicated?
I
Complicated.
need Ann on this one. It's complicated. It's federal financing policy and procedures, and they just had to have a nonprofit arm that's theirs funnel the money.
And what I was explained is that they had a change of department heads that oversees these types of programs, and they stopped them all. So we were just one of those that was stopped.
I would assume most national parks and national monuments do have nonprofits that,
I would think they're probably all doing, but when it came home to us, it was a scrambling moment where we're going, oh, OMG, what are we gonna do? They already started growing the plants for the next year. It's like, what are we gonna do? And the director of the vegetation department was getting ready to retire, so he was very nervous about the whole thing, and he started shaking trees and trying to get, how can we work through this? We need this program. The park really wants the program. We want the program. And now the association is happy to be part of the program. So like I said, it's a triple win. So, but that's as far as I know. It's just internal federal stuff, finance stuff that I don't do.
well, we don't need the complication explained. Thank you. That's all.
Director Jarlsberg?
Couple of things. I again agree, this is a wonderful program and I love volunteering as well as get a few plants myself.
Cactuses.
Well, they're not all cactuses, succulents, grasses.
Yep. But just for
Grasses.
the public clarification,
Yes.
if you would allow me,
Please,
the free plants are not part of what the national
Right, right.
park grows. What has developed is people are getting so into water-wise plants, and maybe even their native plants are shooting off babies and volunteers, and they pot them up and they don't want to kill them because they all have names and they're taking care of them. So they bring them to our plant swap where we give them away for free.
That's a fun thing too.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's where the free stuff comes.
yeah, it's a good way to get rid of extras.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a bunch.
Cactuses.
Yeah. How, this is, for what, this MOI is for 1 year to be renewed automatically for any,
It's an automatic renewal, but they have an escape clause, as you see in there. We could, either side could say,
with 30 days notice.
yeah. And the MOU was kind of that way too. So what they're trying to do is get away from all the pain and agony that goes through litigation, breaking the contract. And none of us want to be part of that. So
Right,
the first MOU was very loose, very general.
right.
And it allowed us a lot of freedom to develop the program. And this is simply because we're running it through a different organization and they are regulated too. We have to have something in writing. They need an escape clause. It gives us an escape clause. So no,
Yes. But we hope it'll last, that the MOI will continue for
it
who
can,
knows
right,
how long.
right.
Yeah,
That
long as you're-
was my
as long
understanding.
as you're alive, hopefully.
That's the end.
Yeah,
Yes. Memorandum of intent, yes.
yeah. And the money goes to the nonprofit,
Goes through.
through the nonprofit.
Their job is to vet that it's legitimate money. It's not coming from narcotic sales or whatever.
Oh, okay,
Because I work in a nonprofit, that when you take donations, because in essence, when they send it to the park, it's a donation and it goes through. Because of their image, they are careful about where donations are coming from, because if they accept them and it's from a bad source,
yeah,
and that's why they vet the donation.
And we're not using any rangers in this program,
No,
just the nonprofit?
no,
Okay,
rangers are at one level. The
Yeah.
people in the nursery in the national park are not rangers. They are seasonal or part-time or contract vendors. And they do wear national park type clothing, but they're not technically a ranger.
okay,
And I already checked, the jobs are safe.
okay, that's my
I
question.
already checked, because I
Okay.
freaked out on that one too.
Yeah. I also noticed a small typo because this is an agreement. I think it should be accurate
Okay,
Let me know about the typo and I'll let them know.
on page 12.
they sent us.
You did it on page 12. They misspelled nursery.
Okay, thank you.
On the last paragraph. And you have the tax ID number. Do the people who make, who get these plants have to, would they get something saying it's a donation for their tax purposes
What
or?
we do is we
Okay.
give them a receipt for their purchase.
Oh, okay,
That is it.
Okay.
What happens when they walk
Okay.
away? It's
all right.
out of our hands.
But the receipt says something about it being a nonprofit or tax
No.
exempt or anything?
No, it's, it has in the past, now I can explore that. But because they are in fact, in the contract, it says that we are not to do that.
Oh. I don't know, it gives a tax exempt ID number.
They are,
Yeah,
but they aren't actually receiving the donation, they're passing it
to the
through.
park.
So I don't think we're going down that road.
Okay,
I think that we simply give them a receipt, and it's just where they bought it from us. It's legit, they didn't steal it, and that's about it. They're technically a pass-through.
It's telling us that it's tax deductible for us, but we
Right.
don't have that same sort of tax burden, so it
Right.
doesn't really matter.
It's 50% of it.
Right.
Right,
okay.
It was in that paragraph where nursery was misspelled.
yes.
Yeah, I just, I like numbers. It's fine, I'm being a little nitpicky,
That's okay. I don't like.
but thank you for the clarification.
Director Short?
Yeah, it feels like this was a long time coming for you. Congratulations on getting this done. It's I really appreciate it. I've got a lot of plants from the sale in my yard, so it's good to hear. Thank you.
It's good to hear they're still alive.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, they're doing good. That's all for me.
I can remember, after the plant show, last plant sale last year, the money was counted right there. And, I'm kind of curious now that we've got this separate entity in there. How are we going to convey all the money to, this association and then they're going to send back 50% of it? I noticed there's a restricted account that they're going to have that this money goes into.
No, I don't think that will be the flow.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. The way I see it is we do our double count here. We have volunteers and everyone's double counting. Then I bring it to finance, the whole kit and caboodle. I have to break it down because they have to break out the tax. Everything, how, 3 plants of this, it's quite a form they make me fill out. Then in the past, they would simply send they would give a copy of that sheet and they would send that with a check for the 50% directly to the park. Now that check of 50% with showing that it's exactly half of what we collected will go to Joshua National Park Association. Then they look at it and they go, oh yeah, we're good people. We'll accept that money. And they already know because of this MOI that it goes directly then to the park. It's almost the same thing we've been doing. They just have to have a different pass through of the money instead of me saying or us saying it directly to headquarters of the national park. they want to come through their nonprofit arm as a donation.
So we get 50% of the money. What do we do with it?
It usually goes right back into the garden. Garden costs a lot of money to maintain.
So in other words, if we fund the upkeep of the demonstration garden that we have on the east side of our property. Right here, this open Tuesday, Monday through Thursday for the public, and it's also available for tours from you.
In fact, I have quite a few lined up already. Yes,
And if somebody wants to sign up for a tour of the garden that's 50% funded by the plant sale, they can contact you at the market on Saturday.
okay, so the money,
No, I'm not talking, I'm talking about the garden. If somebody wants to tour a tour of the garden. Okay.
they can call me at home.
I'm just doing some plugola stuff here. So
Okay, all right.
I'm thinking maybe, I don't remember. I know you have like an advertising board up or, informational board up. Do you say that it's
Yeah,
for the
the-
benefit of the garden? You think that might help?
the chalkboard out front.
Well, I think you had a poster or something that you produced that we
Well-
had by the booth.
We have, okay, in the past, my promotions always said where the proceeds went.
Mhm.
They go to sustain this program year after year between the national park and us. I couldn't do that this time because
Okay,
the MOI it hadn't landed. And they have all these rules for
Right.
promotion. And if I say who and what, but we didn't have the agreement, which we're waiting for the board to approve, the signature to happen, the typo to be fixed, and then send it back. So
and it's the 22nd, or no, 29th
our,
coming up,
the 30th, Sunday.
30th, I'm sorry.
However, I think we can do this.
Okay.
It would be faster if I drove it over to them than using US mail. But I think we'll get it all taken care of before this sale. And do you see any issue otherwise?
As soon as the board approves it, I can hit DocuSign signature and they'll have it before you drive there.
Okay.
Done.
And another quick question, we had the compost from Burtech last year. Are we gonna have that again?
No, and I will talk to you
Darn.
afterwards.
Oh darn.
I will talk to you afterwards. There is a definite reason why,
Oh.
and I'm just, maybe next year, but there's a couple, in fact, there's more than two reasons why I have decided not this year. But we will look at that again because I've had a lot of requests, but not
I'll
enough.
have some if you want some.
Yeah.
I thought so. but
We
yeah.
were glad when that was gone, because every time one of the doors opened,
We'll revisit, it. Not this year. I have, actually, I shared in my report back in February. All the things
Oh, right.
coming in, and I
Yeah.
even have a few more, but they're still all gardening, native related. It's not
Okay,
everything
right,
water, it's
Right,
with gardening.
or
So-
general fund or anything.
So there'll be a lot to do. There will be. Okay.
General Manager Johnson.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments on this. If you remember last year, we brought the MOU with the park to the board and the board approved it. And then we learned subsequently that we couldn't have that MOU any longer because of the department heads changing. And from then, I have to thank Kathleen and Jay Goodwin, who got the ball rolling on this MOI. This is a year ago.
I know, we've been working on this.
And Kathleen has met with JTNPA. I have met with them. And then Kathleen took the ball and rolled with it even more to get it to this point. So these things, it looks so easy. We bring it to you in this nice pretty packet, but it takes a lot of effort. So thank you, Kathleen.
Yeah.
For.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it is truly a ton of effort and it was a year in the making. So I'm excited that we can move on
And I'm happy it's renewable
That's right.
automatically.
Yeah.
We won't have to do this again.
That's, yes.
Yeah, that's how, I
Yes.
was so close for that. I thought, okay.
And then Jay, who was in charge of the nursery, retired. He worked for the parks. And he's been instrumental in our plant sale all these years. And he made sure before he left to put the things in motion that need to be in motion so that we can continue this program.
Right.
So that was amazing.
So they really want it, but the national park loves this program. And we work well together in education. We do our wildcrafting class together and tours and stuff like. They really like it. And I want to thank them publicly, since this is being recorded, that even there's been several turnovers of vegetation directors, whatever their titles are, but they've all gotten behind it 110%. They have just gone the extra mile. So yeah, they really like this program, and I'm glad it's working for all of us. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
okay, thank you.
And also, thanks a lot to your husband, Jim, for all of the work that he does with the plants.
Unpaid volunteer.
Yeah.
Honey-do list.
Is there a motion from the board to approve the memorandum of intent between the Joshua Tree National Park Association and the Joshua Basin Water District?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Flowen,
Yes.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Charlesberg.
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carried.
One quick note, could there be a date on the first page?
There is a first page in front of that. That's a.
Okay, that has a date.
Yeah. that's-
Okay.
Next item, meter workshop. For information only, no action will be taken. And reminder, this is a little bit more informal, so we can, any give and take on this kind of a thing is welcome. David Shook, please.
I'm gonna put the microphone down because you're not gonna want to miss the pictures and videos I've got in my.
Great. Great.
I'm a little under the weather, so I'm gonna
Mm,
stand away again.
mm.
Be a common thing, presentations. So I would first like to introduce Mr. Steve Kamiyama from Aquametric. He's provided some slides within the PowerPoint as well, so we can reference those. So I just want to say I'm really excited to bring this information to you. You have the information as written in the staff report, but the PowerPoint is definitely more entertaining, so I'm going to refer to that. All of that information in the general PowerPoint. So.
You put your chair right back.
Absolutely. All right, I forgot that I was gonna do the clicker. So I have a little draft agenda here. Why census iPearl meters, meters 101 with Steve Kamiyama from Aquametrics, and then some information about the CAP program. So with that, we'll move forward. So you may recognize these posters that are out in our lobby where customers can come read about the meters that are being put in. We are this close to finishing the meter replacement program. I think we only have 40 or 50 left, if that. So it's going very well. And we're pleased with the way these meters are functioning, which is good because we just put in 5,600 of them. So. All right, the census iPearls were selected over 3 other meters. So back in 2019, these meters were selected over 3 others from Badger, Master, and Zenner. And the board at that time selected these meters for many reasons, but mainly the accuracy in the low flow range, which the others could not match. So the census SR2 meters, the precursor to these current meters, were not capturing low flow consumption. And staff recommended and public commenters agreed at the time to stay with AMR and potentially move towards AMI in the future. And this passed with a vote of 4 to 0 to 1, one board member being absent. And then these census iPearls were chosen. See the beautiful art? That's from Pexels, by the way. It's free to use there. So regarding those SR2s, more than 75% of those meters that were tested were not meeting the AWWA testing standards. They were underreporting. Some were failing by as high as 15%, causing the district to lose revenue, specifically in the low flow range. So what that translates to is that customers were getting free water. Sir.
That's the American Water Works Association.
Yes, sir. Susan Greer quote in here, while the census bid was higher than most, the ability to detect and bill for lower water flows significantly changes the analysis, resulting in gained revenues over the 20-year life of the meters that aren't possible with other non-magnetic meters. So this is what happened to many of the SR2 meters. You see these big red arrows or brown in my case. So I placed them there for a reason, and you'll see why.
Okay.
There's two specific areas in this video that I would like to draw your attention to.
Oh.
So first, you notice this is not spinning, it's doing this.
Oh,
And then this 9 is twitching up and down and not reading.
hmm.
So that this particular meter was not capturing flow, even though water was going through.
Hmm.
Okay, so just some historical information, and Steve, you can jump in here anytime.
Yeah.
So the Census iPearl water meter is an advanced electromagnetic water meter that measures water flow using electromagnetic induction rather than traditional mechanical components. I'm gonna jump ahead just for a second because I have a bit of a show and tell. This is the piece of the meter that was on the video. And this is important. I'll come show everybody, but
The old meter or the new?
this is the physical meter of
The defective.
the video
Counter, that's the
Yes.
counter.
Of the old meters.
of the old meters. So now you can see that this dial is spinning and this white piece of plastic was causing this meter to malfunction. So I taped it on here and put a little arrow so we could keep it. So just over time, and this was probably in the ground for 20+ years,
About
18
20 years or so,
Okay.
just to give you an idea, that meter, just the register alone that Dave is holding there has about 38 moving parts. The iPearl meter as a whole has 0 moving parts in the meter.
Just that little
Oh.
breaker stimulator.
malfunction.
Would you define induction? I'm not quite sure what that means.
As far as how the census iPearl works,
Yeah.
what happens is, the meter is electromagnetic, so it creates a magnetic field within the measuring chamber within the measuring chamber. And as water flows through, the higher the flow, the higher the voltage it creates through that magnetic field. So the meter actually measures the magnetic or the voltage in the meter, and that's how it projects flow. But depending on how faster the water is moving through, the higher the voltage, the lower the flow, the lower the voltage. And it
So the electromagnetic induction is one phrase that it's together. I mean,
Exactly.
okay, it's part of the process. Okay,
Would the mineral content of the water have any effect on it?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Would the mineral content of the water have anything to do with it?
It does not.
And these can be installed vertically, diagonally, horizontally. right?
Exactly. Yeah, it can be installed
And
any way.
maintain the same.
yeah, okay.
I wanted to refer to this, the smart data communication. I'm going to show you another show and tell here in a few minutes, but these meters store and transmit usage data. They work with AMI, which we're all well aware of, or drive-by data collection for remote meetings. And they detect leaks, tampering, and backflow conditions. I'll explain a little bit more about that. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was making a note and I don't, why is the word induction used? What does that mean exactly specifically regarding electromagnetic fields or whatever? Why is the word induction used? What does it mean?
Flow? Flow?
It's inducing, I mean, the verb.
Is that what you want?
About the magnetic field.
Yes.
I understand the
The
mag,
word induction.
yeah, why is induction used?
That's the process.
Okay.
That's the
I think I lost audio.
Yes, I don't know if you guys can hear us. We did lose audio. So since we have a
Oh.
board member remotely, we probably have to pause. I couldn't tell
Well,
if it
it's
was me or
fascinating what I was saying, so I'm sorry. you lost-
we're back. We can hear you again.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, all right, so I think I understand it, because that's how it's measured instead of it being a register.
That's correct.
Okay, right.
Instead of, the SR2s, how it worked was, it was basically a measuring element that was almost like a cup, and as water flowed through it, it spun.
Right,
The measuring element
yeah,
spun. So
right.
this removed all moving parts from the meter and just utilizes the electromagnetic technology.
Okay,
And there's what, 2 electromagnets within the.
Correct, yeah, there's
Like that.
2 electrical probes that actually create that magnetic field. And if any issues happen with those probes, the meter actually flags that as an alarm, so the district will know that there's an issue with that meter.
those are the electrodes?
That's correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, they're probes, okay.
How close do they have to be when they read it?
It varies. Yeah, you can read up to 2 to 3 miles.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So.
I was thinking about the truck driving right by in the road, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so how the system works is, the radios that you guys are installing, they are a primary licensed
Ah.
FCC frequency. So Joshua Basin actually owns that license. We own it, we lease it to you guys at no cost. So being the primary license holder, of that FCC license, we can broadcast at a full 2 watts of power. So
Oh,
with them
okay.
driving by in their truck, they can pick it up, 2, 3 miles away. Obviously radio, a little bit, it can vary, but upwards of 2 to 3 miles.
So it helps that the antenna or the transmitter is actually outside the meter box now too. I see that disc that's on the cover.
Oh,
Correct, yeah, so everything, all the meters that you guys installed was above the meter lid. 2 reasons for that. One, obviously, you're gonna get better range with the drive-by. And also, as David pointed out, with AMI, you guys are ready for that. So at any point you guys wanted to go to AMI, they're already set above the lid.
huh.
So this is where I was gonna show the faulty SR2, so you can ignore this right now, but. So like Steve was mentioning, there's no mechanical moving parts in there. It doesn't wear out or lose accuracy over time. It measures in those ultra low flows. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it picks up even a teaspoon, right?
Yeah,
If a teaspoon goes through.
quarter teaspoon of water. The iPearl, I'm not sure if you see the dial face, but it actually has 9 digits on the dial. The SR2's at 8. The SR2s are reading down to 0.01 cubic feet. The iPearls go down to 0.001 cubic feet. So your quarter teaspoon of water that's going through the meter is actually able to capture those low flows. So everything that's going through that meter is being registered and captured by this meter.
So is this how we're now informing people that we think they have a leak? Is this how we're doing this? Are we using that technology, the leak and tamper detection? Because, aren't we doing that? Or is it just based on usage on the bill?
Well, it's when the reads come in, we have a device that I'm gonna mention here
Okay.
in a few minutes, but.
Jumping ahead.
Yeah, I think with AMI, I think that's the intent, right? Is that so that it's real-time data. But since we aren't there yet, we're trying to do what we can for customers now. So
Okay, so where it says alerts utilities to leaks, reverse flows, or tampering attempts, we don't have that benefit.
the meters have that capability, but we haven't invested in that.
AMI needs
process.
to do it. Okay.
However,
Okay, so when we're driving by or the 2 miles away, it can't tell us that. You said
if
like,
there's a leak,
right, so that feature of the iPearl
Not
meters.
yet,
I'm just trying to understand,
not yet.
when we do our drive-by reporting, when we do our drive-by and picking up the data, it doesn't send that data to us.
It does not send that data specifically. We have to do something extra,
Okay,
which is. where-
in the future slide.
Yes.
Okay.
And at the end of 20 years or so, how do we know it's not working anymore? I mean, are we getting clues ahead of time kind of thing?
The meter is constantly monitoring itself. So when it does faulty, not through AMR that you guys are currently using, through AMI, it will notify you unless you go to the meter itself. you can actually pull the data from
Yeah.
the device. That data is going to show you that let you know if the meter is no longer working.
So when you say when the reads come in, you would detect an unusual amount of flow from a meter. If
Yeah.
the problem occurs close to the time the information is sent, you would get a notification, or you'd see that fairly soon.
We can pull that data with the current iPearls that are in the ground now. We can pull 45 days of data. With the newer iPearl Plus, it's up to 120 days. So we have those at the tail end of our meter replacement, unfortunately, but we can go up to 120 days. Most of our new meters are going to be 45 days. And with that data that comes in, there are two reports. One's a series of alarms if that particular meter happens to have any. And that's for the life of the meter. So the 45 days pulls date, hours, and cubic feet per hour for that meter up to 45 days. So what we've been doing, I guess we'll just show it now because we're already discussing it. So we invested in this nifty device here. It's called a Field Logic Communicator. So what happens is when we get reads in, if we have a set of customers who appear to have abnormally high water bills, we will put in a service order to deploy the device, is what we've been saying because it sounds really cool. So they will take this out. We have a really fancy Harbor Freight in here. And the way this works is that in the field, you pull this section of the meter and the MXU off, and then you plug it into this, and then you run a program on our meter reading laptop. This just runs by a simple USB. This runs by a simple USB.
Maybe closer to the camera?
I just want,
This runs by a simple USB.
No, there you go. There you go.
So, but it's been really good, and although I recognize and understand that it's not quite AMI, we made an investment in one of these to start, and we recently purchased a second one. So our two field technicians that are most commonly doing these, they can each have one in their own truck and for their own laptop.
About how much are they?
$300.
Okay.
So does that give us the ability for leak and tamper detection? Okay, so it's only,
It's a reactive.
right,
data log.
right,
It's not
yeah.
Proactive.
Yeah, that's too bad, isn't it? Yeah.
So, I mean, we're doing what we can without AMI.
Right. So this
It's a-
gives us 45 days of data back data. So that's stored on the chip in the iPearl. And then you plug all this in and then you have an app, I guess, on the computer.
Yeah, program.
Right. And so then it downloads all that data.
Yes.
And okay. So then we're able to tell ratepayers, we're able to give them this data. We share this data.
Yes, we do.
And when there's problems and stuff.
And we've, what they do is, I Velcroed in a heavy duty USB flash drive in the case. So they extract the data and then they put it on this flash drive and then I have it on my machine. So everything's on here. And so what it is basically a CSV, right?
Yes.
CSV file. Yeah. And it has the two logs.
Oh, it's CSV,
for one
CSV.
property. Yes.
Yeah,
Excel.
like an Excel file.
So then what I do is, I take the information and I assign a line graph to it. And we can see, okay, this person at 6:52 on February 13th had something happen at their property because you can see visually the graph shoot up. And it's very interesting to see because, this person takes a shower at 6:47. You see a little spike every single day at that exact same time. So as we go along, we're trying to learn what these different patterns look like and what to look for that's abnormal or different. So obviously, if someone has a huge spike, so just for an example, what I've seen is on these graphs is someone will use very minimal cubic feet of water every hour for a week straight. And then something happens, whether they have a leaky toilet or they have an irrigation issue or they've left a hose on, that will shoot up to a new
Mean.
exactly. So then those little spikes continue on from that point. And then we can let them know, like, it does appear like you have something going on your property. It started at 8:52 on Wednesday night, which has been really helpful. And what that program can do is also produce a graph in the field, which our field staff have been able to show customers in person in real time at their meter. So it's been beneficial so far. Yes.
Are the meters identified by address and or meter number or?
They have a serial number,
Uh-huh.
and they're assigned to customer account.
Okay, which has the
Which has the
address?
address.
Yes.
Yeah.
At an APN.
So I had a question. So does the iPearl either, the one, any of the iPearls that we've bought read water signatures? So the water signatures is another technology like Flume has. So then it tells you, oh, you have a leak in your bathroom pipes. Oh, you have a leak outside because it reads the water signature. It can tell using AI where the leak is.
No, we don't, the Apple does not provide that information.
Okay, so even with AMI, a ratepayer would not have that. They just know they have a leak.
There is something on the customer portal in our customer portal that does provide that information, but it's a best guess. It estimates what you're using for irrigation, what you're using for, standard day-to-day use, things like that. It does try to get the best guesstimate,
Yeah.
or the best estimation of what water percentage is being used. But once it goes past the meter, the meter can't detect on
Right.
which way it's going.
There was a ratepayer shared with me that he'd bought two different kinds of technologies and neither one worked with the meter. So like, for example, Flume, does Flume work with our meters that we bought, which is a ratepayer side? Once it goes past the meter, then it will give you that information that, wonky ratepayers may want.
Yeah, it does not work with Flume, to my knowledge.
Okay.
So the reason for that is I don't know much about Flume, so excuse me, but I'm not gonna
I think
speak.
they use the same technology and it like cancels itself out or something, because a Flume device, I think, is attached with a strap onto a meter. And
Yes,
I think they don't correlate with one another from my minimal research, but.
Yeah, there's no AMI. I mean, there's no talking, to each other, right? That they're not communicating with each other.
no,
Right.
basically, if you understand how Flume works is like on the SR2 meter, like I was describing, it's a cup in, cup out, it kind of spins.
Uh-huh.
What Flume does, it actually measures the magnet within the meter that's spinning, and that's how it's picking up flow from the meter. It's not communicating with any of the meters.
Oh, okay.
It's got that strap that Dave was talking about is actually picking up that magnetic sweep every time it goes around.
So are you able to share with us those kind of customer facing technologies that do work with these meters?
Yes, I can. Like the
Okay.
customer portal, those kinds of things.
Well, I'm saying that something that works like Flume with the water signature stuff, on the customer side, that would then tell, because Flume didn't work with this. This ratepayer bought Flume, it didn't work. So he had to return it, and then he bought something else and it didn't work. And he was like, what works with these? And I couldn't tell him. And I realized we're probably not going to put that on the website because we don't want to be responsible for people buying stuff and then them coming back to us and saying, this didn't work, I want you to give me money for it. But I'd just like to know so I could discuss it with people in the future. You'll get back to us
I
on that?
put a $19 Amazon camera on my meter at home so that I can look at it. It's Wi-Fi enabled.
When you can't sleep at night, you're looking at
My God.
So, I mean, and I know that, you know, we've talked about AMI and having real-time data, which I'm not against, but like I said, we're doing the best we can with,
Yeah.
with what we have. And, you know, so it's a pretty nice camera. I mean, like I said, it was.
Right, but it's not gonna tell you, it's not gonna get back. You have to go and look at it. It's not
Yes.
gonna say you have a leak in your bathroom. So if you live remotely and you have a vacation home here or something like that, you know, you're not gonna know unless you're always checking the meter camera.
Could it be motion activated, so when the numbers start going?
Oh, there you
Like
go.
off then.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, every time you.
Okay, okay, well, if you've happened to find out,
If I find
Steve,
a third party device like that does.
Yeah.
Meters, I can definitely.
because I understood from Badger when I was at a meeting and in a, you know, one of those meetings where they have the showcases or whatever people, that Badger said that they could, their technology, their AMI technology would work. And obviously that would be a district side fix. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
I'm wondering if we have a flood and it floods the box at the meters end, is it safe? Waterproof?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Is iPro an acronym for something?
Not necessarily, no.
It's like iPhone, but.
We could make some, let's make something up for it. How about that?
It's, they say intelligence, performance, excellence,
Oh,
reliability, and the L stands for something else.
Longevity.
Maybe, yeah, that's sure, but yeah, it's.
okay.
And then Kathleen had a question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Could one of you list out the tamper detection scenarios it has proven effective? I'm sure you've had field studies already, because people come and interact with us and they'll claim that we're doing things with their meter. I want to know what this can do now.
Yeah, so the tamper resistance that this meter has is, there's a magnetic tamper. So there's a lot of tampering with large magnets. People try to put a magnet around the meter to stop the magnet from spinning as water's being registered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if there's a high magnetic field around it that's not coming from the meter, it'll actually flag that along with the date and time of when that magnetic field was picked up. There's also an empty pipe alarm. So if this meter was removed from service and water actually was removed from the chamber, it'll actually also flag that and let you know that there was an empty pipe. So somebody removed the meter from service. There is a reverse flow also. So I've seen before in the past, we data logged the meter with the device that David was showing you, where we'll see an empty pipe alarm, and then we'll see an active alarm of reverse flow for about a week, and then an empty pipe alarm again, and then back to normal flow.
Like a
So
siphon,
the meter around. Oh, sorry, what's that?
like a siphon, like it's siphoning back? You can say.
Yeah, what's
Reverse
happening?
flow, what people will do is they'll actually turn the meter around, so as they're registering, yeah, the water.
This is helpful.
Oh my God.
Leak detector alarm as well.
Yes, it'll also detect leaks, so the meter looks for flow between 36 to 64 times a second. And if that meter measures flow directly for 24 hours straight, nonstop, it'll actually flag a leak alarm. So it'll also flag that.
And then when would we get that leak alarm? When we read?
Yeah, yeah.
No, when we run the.
When you run that
Data
machine.
log for now.
The drive-by unit, it doesn't give a leak alarm, but it will flag a high usage alarm from if the leak's big enough, it'll actually flag a high usage alarm from the drive-by read.
So from drive-by, but if we're only driving by once a month to do our reads,
Yes,
then we're only gonna see that 30 days after potentially the leak happened.
that's
So,
correct. Yeah.
okay,
But we'd be able to go back and pinpoint when
When it
something
happened.
happens. If we.
Right. but it, you know, to everyone's concern is
Right.
how do we stop it
Be
with?
alerted
so
in the
that
moment.
Before that major leak happens, and that requires AMI.
Well, except for you said it's 2 to 3 miles, the drive-by, and that data is available. Couldn't it, then we could do that, people that are 2 to 3 miles from here, a sensor here? And
That's what AMI is, right?
Well, you're talking about driving by more often.
no, I'm saying if whatever the the radio is, that this, the primary license to the FCC signal, that we have a little tower here or something, it would just be the 2 to 3 miles here, right? I mean, we could just do it within this reach, which would be better than nothing anyway. So,
Yeah, I would be in there.
But David,
That close.
yeah, I'm just saying though, I mean, that's, anyway, it's just a thought.
I was-
Yeah, well, I know we're gonna get to the tower talk and we're gonna we're gonna get there, zips in the wire. We're gonna get there, right? We're gonna be talking about the AMI stuff in a second, right?
If there was an empty pipe alert, they've taken the meter, is it still 2 miles? I mean, if they drove by with a dead meter and their grass, would you register it?
Yeah, as long as the radio is within range, yes, we'll still be able to pick that
but
up.
if they took their meter and they moved to
Oh, wow.
Tennessee, we're not gonna get that alert.
Mm.
It's happened.
Oh,
People, taking their meters with them.
oh my goodness.
Goodness. Mhm.
All right, now we've gotten to Steve's slides. So, you wanna,
Yeah, I think we've already covered most of it.
yes,
Maybe you can just hide that window altogether.
Well, because
Yeah, so just to
Or
kind
it's
of-
remote, I think he should be in.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
And just to kind of give you an idea of the iPro accuracy, the 3/4 inch meters that you use here majorly, they start picking the flow at 0.03 gallons per minute. Any mechanical device, like the SR2, majority of our competitors, they start picking up at 0.25 gallons per minute. So anything between 0.03 and 0.25 gallons per minute flow rate was basically free water the customer was getting. With these, it's picking up everything down to 0.03 GPM.
Now, how is, oh, go ahead.
what do you think of most common realistic on the old meters, if someone had irrigation system, even bubbler caps, that these meters were not picking up, the new meters would then right away start picking up, even if they had something very, very minimal outside.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Start picking up.
So as you can tell, we're a little nerdy up here. So thank you for rolling with our questions and everything. So how is the technology that you guys are able to read at that level versus your competition? What is the difference in the technology? I realize you're not an engineer, so if you don't have these answers.
No, we are the only company that makes an electromagnetic meter on a residential side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
The
why,
reason for
okay.
that, one, it is expensive to do. That's why we're usually a little bit more expensive.
Mhm.
But with that, we're able to provide a meter that's gonna last you 20 years. Unlike the SR2 or mechanical devices that slowly degrade over time, it's mechanical.
Right.
It's gonna slow down over time. These meters hold their new meter AWW accuracy over the lifespan of the 20 years. So the day you put it in today, 19 years from now, that meter is still gonna be the exact same accuracy as it is today.
And so if it's not that same accuracy, then what do you do for the customer?
So if it doesn't fall within that range, we warranty that for 20 years. So year 19, say David does a meter test and it's coming out at 96%, that is considered a warrantable issue, and we will actually replace that meter with a new iPro meter.
Have you actually had this device for 20 years to know it would last? How do you gauge that it's gonna last 20 years?
That's people decide that's much smarter than me.
Okay.
But we released this meter in 2007, late 2007.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's been around. for
Okay,
quite some
all
time.
right.
Yeah.
And the brass option would be an improvement to the regular option
Yes,
and more
these-
expensive?
Yeah, it's a little bit more. Right now they are a composite meter, but we do have released a brass option just for ease of installation.
Would brass be better? I mean, last longer
No,
or be more accurate?
not necessarily. What the brass is really made for is a lot of older communities, especially in Los Angeles area, they have a lot of pipe deflection. So when they remove the old meter, the pipes kind of go like that. So installing a brass meter as opposed to a composite is a little bit easier.
Oh.
You can put turns on it and stuff like
Exactly.
that. Got it.
Brass bends a little bit, has a little bit of give.
Right.
Composites do not. Although composites are much stronger on an internal pressure standpoint
Oh,
than brass. Brass can bend a little bit, so there's a little bit more give. So it's just certain installation complications that can need the brass.
okay.
Are these meters domestic or are they vulnerable to tariffs?
They are actually, all the parts are made in America. They are shipped to Mexico for assembly. So yes, they are vulnerable to tariffs.
Uh-oh.
But we're almost done with our program. We only have 40 more to go.
Yeah, right.
And have we bought them already or?
Yeah.
Okay, we already bought them. That's good.
Okay, so I've been here a while and we used to have analog meters. And back then, the rule of thumb was if it was installed and that property was vacant, we would pull them after a year because somehow because water's not flowing through them, kind of like no gas and
Oh,
so long, we would go pull them to save their life, I guess.
So they didn't, yeah,
Yeah, so
degrade and stuff,
since
yeah.
these are
Gyro.
probably a different type of technology, do we have to do that manpower and go out and pull them if we have properties that are uninhabited for whatever reason, and it just sits there in the ground, and at a year, do we have to go and pull them?
No, you don't. Yeah, so there can be, so the reason why that was because the old mechanical meters, as water was stagnant in the chamber, minerals will start to develop around the chamber. So the chamber will not be able to spin once it gets going. These meters, the probes are actually built with a slick resistant around them, so minerals do not deposit on the chamber.
how long, you said these have been in existence for about 15 years?
Yes, late 2007. That's when we first started manufacturing these meters, yeah. It's a 20-year warranty, 15 and 5, so 15-year full replacement and then 5-year prorate after that, kind of like a tire. But with Census, one thing I do like about Census is the warranty. If you get a new meter back, you're not going against that old warranty. You get a brand new meter with a brand new 20-year warranty.
And is Census a publicly held or a private company?
They're public.
Okay,
They're actually owned by Xylem, which is one of the largest water manufacturers in the world.
okay, all right, thanks.
I think they're a Fortune 500 company, I believe.
What other water districts have the iPearls that maybe we would be familiar with?
Right.
Close by, let's see, City of Big Bear Lake would be probably the closest. High Desert, City of Adelanto utilizes them. Pinion Hills Water District utilizes them. West Valley Water District utilizes them. Ukaipa Valley Water District utilizes them.
I remembered Ukaipa. Mhm.
Yeah. Ellendale CSD utilizes them. Quite a few districts. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Was this design implemented because it needed an upgrade? I mean, they've been working with analog for so long, and then there was research obviously done to improve it.
Yeah, what I understand is this type of technology has been in the water industry for quite some time, but mainly for larger pipe, because we could provide electrical to that meter, because this does take power to run. But with the improvement of battery technology, they were able to make a 20-year meter on the residential side and get to capture.
Oh, okay.
flow. So yeah, with that, and also the need and want for things like data logging, alarms, things like that, they wanted to improve.
This also has an ability to help us with our water loss.
Yes,
Can
absolutely.
you speak to that at all?
Mainly, as far as water loss goes, capturing the non-revenue water is the big deal.
Right.
You know, you have 5,600 homes here. If you had 1,000 of them that weren't capturing, you know, like David mentioned, if they're failing on the low flow end and you're not picking up that flow, that not only is that as revenue loss, but it's also water loss. With these meters, there's none of that. It's going to pick up all that flow, which is going to increase revenue as well as account for all water.
And the state is working on ways for us to report more of that water loss and to reduce that water loss.
Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of how I mentioned before, it creates the magnetic field as water flows through it. It's the velocity. Lost my. I'm
But
It builds the voltage, yeah.
To create that
Yeah.
measurement.
But induction is water flow? Is that kind of what it means?
It induces the electrical
Yeah.
thing. It's converting actually kind of velocity to electromagnetic numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Faraday's law is what it is.
Oh.
I'm not an engineer
Oh.
by any way, shape,
Okay.
or form, so I don't want to dive into that at all, but the equation is pretty intense. But that's how it creates, how it equates.
So it's EMF right there equals BLV,
Mhm.
right? I don't know what BL is, but.
Yeah, and again, just to kind of speak, this is kind of the accuracy curve of all of the other types of meters, the nutating disc, the oscillator, the multi-jet, the PD position, the PD piston, single jet and the turbine. They all kind of start, at a zero flow and kind of raise up here. The eye pearl, you'll notice, will kind of start up here and kind of just go across. I think there's another
Oh, okay.
click on that, should be there. Yeah, kind of show you. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here at 0.25 gallons. It starts down here at about 95%. This is the older style mechanical meters, but with the eye pearl, it actually starts down here at 0.03 up at 100%. It's across.
And that's because it's measuring at a different level. So like it's 2.5 gallons before it starts measuring, you said. Is that why?
Yeah, the
It's a
reason
little
for that
challenging for
is-
me to understand this.
The other type of meters, not the.
Right, yeah, I get that. Mhm. Is that why?
The reason for that is, you need a certain amount of flow to get that mechanical device going.
Trigger it,
Yeah,
yeah.
so once it gets going, it's gonna start picking it up. But with the non-mechanical meter, that's just a straight through pipe, there's nothing inside of it. It can pick up any.
So just kind of reiterating, it's more accurate than the mechanical meters. The low flow is extremely accurate, so it starts measuring at the very minute amount. And again, the accuracy is maintained over the lifespan of those meters, it's 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, what that means, so the benefit of PD increases over time. What that means is year 12, PD meter is almost ready to be, it's almost time to be changed out because that low flow is probably instead of 95% at 0.25, you're probably looking at 95% at 1 gallon per minute. The eye pearl is staying the same accuracy curve over time. So all that is just additional revenue and water.
And what is PD again? I missed that. What is
PD?
PD?
What does PD stand for?
Yeah.
It stands for positive displacement. It's an older technology, like the SR2, the cup in, cup out, the spinning.
Mechanical.
Mechanical.
Okay, yeah,
Is that
okay.
like you get a body fat submersion test? I think that's what it is, positive.
Positive.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mhm.
Okay.
I've never had to do it, but.
Mm.
This slide here is just basically talking and touches a little bit on the composite material and the
Oh,
burst strength of the meter itself. An average PD meter, when it gets up to 600 to 700 PSI, that meter is going to basically just
Mm.
blow up. The eye pearl is going to get up to
Oh.
1600
Well,
PSI.
that's good to know too.
Yeah. But if you ever get up to 1600 PSI in your system, you have a lot more to worry about than that.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
So, what we don't do, we get accused of quite a bit here in the office. So, I've left some of the most colorful commentary out, but we do not add units to customers' rates. We don't have the ability to do that. We do not add a digit to their bills. We don't increase one person's bill to meet the average of the street. That just happened last week.
Mm.
So, I mean, these are all understandable, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that these meters are accurate and all we're doing is billing for the reads that come in. And I 100% get that having a early warning system, so to speak, would be very convenient. But the majority of the time, the meters are accurate. And if they're not, then they'll be warranted and replaced.
We don't keep averages of the street, do we?
No.
Okay, just checking on that.
No, that's.
It's kind of interesting, but yeah.
So, if you could help us kind of work on changing the narrative. So these meters typically are not incorrect. iPrometer boasts consistent and verified accuracy, especially over time and especially in that low flow revenue generating zone or range, I guess. Often the first instinct is to blame the meter and or the district. We've heard a ton. We can have a private conversation about that. So it's not on YouTube. So we prefer to help the customers find the root of an issue when and however we can. An on-site water survey is free to customers and may provide insights on how to identify where the issues may lie. Yes.
So I know one of the concerns that we've all had it, because we want to do the best job that we can here is, and AMI is obviously on the top of mind, there's a cost associated to it, but we want to feel confident in our meters. And these meters were selected before, I think pretty much all of us in this room were here.
Right.
A lot of analysis and a lot of thought put into it. And I respect Susan Greer, who brought that to the table, and she did a lot of excellent work on that. Help us feel confident, because I think one of the things, these are so great at the low flow that people aren't used to it. And so they're like, I've got this large bill suddenly. And they're not used to it. They didn't know that their toilet's been running for the last 15 years and we've just installed their new meter. So we want, are there errors in these meters? And if so, how does that happen? And what do we do to know about those? And what is the percentage of accuracy that we would have these meters versus the old meters?
That's exactly, I have it. What is the percentage of accuracy written down on my, yeah.
By percentage of accuracy, what do you?
Are these, 99% accurate all the time? Are they 85% accurate? That I remember.
Gotcha. Yeah, so they're guaranteed to be in the new meter JBWD accuracy zone. So that's plus or minus 1.5%. So anything that's average between the three: low flow, mid flow, and high flow. That's how they're tested. So usually what I see coming out of the factory is 99.9%. That's what the goal is. They try not to go above 100%. They try to keep it just slightly below. That's the number that they're going for. Every meter that we ship to you guys, there's an accuracy tag on it. So every meter is tested before it leaves the factory, and those test results are actually on the meter itself. So you can actually pull the meter out. There will be a tag on the meter. It will give you the low flow accuracy, the mid flow accuracy, and also the high flow accuracy on the meter.
So following up with that, what examples do you have of where these meters have failed? Because there has to be some failure, even if it's 99.9%. So how has it failed? What happens when it fails?
So the main reason, the main thing for the meters to fail, right now, Xylem is saying that there's a 0.25% failure rate on these meters. So obviously there is failure.
Okay.
Nothing is perfect. I wish I could say here and say that 100%, it's gonna work every time. That is an average over 10 years. For that percentage, so 0.25. The main reason for failure is going to be one of the probes going out, the plus or minus probes that creates that magnetic field. But if they were to go out, there is an alarm within the meter that will actually flag it on the meter. So if one of the guys go out there and hooks the device to it, he'll connect to it, he'll actually know when that meter went bad.
So let me just tell you where I'm coming from, and you've probably already heard this. Unfortunately, there's been some issues with the install of these and in the timelines, and then ratepayers having tremendous leaks, tremendous water usage. And then it would go down. And so we've seen that, right? I mean, we've seen that. Haven't we seen some like big spikes that seem to be inexplicable at least one time? I'm thinking of that guy that I called a dirt bag, that guy. So he was gone all summer, and his property was walked and everything, and they couldn't find anything, and he had this huge spike. And so I'm just wondering, could one of those electrodes go out And then, there's some pinging in the water, is not being measured correctly and it's measured too high.
And you've mentioned a number of times that if
It's
once
flagged.
these meters go bad, they don't go back good again. Right,
Yes.
so.
Oh, I don't remember
if there-
hearing
if There
that.
was an issue. If there was an issue with, like with your example, one of the electrodes was.
What I meant is intermittent. So it'd turn off and on, the electrode would go off and on maybe. And so it would cause that issue. Has that ever happened, that it has intermittency?
So basically installing it at high usage and all of a sudden it goes back to normal?
Right.
No, I haven't seen that issue.
Okay.
The reason is, when these meters go bad, just like everything else, if it goes bad, it's gonna stay bad. It
Yeah.
doesn't it won't repair itself or fix the issue. If one of the probes goes out, it's gonna continue that way until the meter is removed.
But the signal, I'm concerned about the signal, like everything, our internet goes down. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things where there's a signal, and that's a signal that's the electromagnetic field converting, the velocity to that. There's, signals back and forth, and that's what I'm concerned about, maybe that, no? Yeah,
So I've heard of that. We did have, so stray voltage was an issue. That means, because, again, a lot of the older homes, what they would do is they would actually ground appliances to the copper pipes, which would send electromagnetic
Uh-huh.
field or down the pipe into our iPearl and can cause some confusion with that meter. That was discovered early on by engineering, and what they did is they actually put in the firmware, they actually were able to cancel out any stray voltage.
okay.
So it knows what voltage is coming from the
Okay.
meter itself and what's on the outside voltage.
Yeah, can there be an error where it over reports? That's our biggest.
That's what I was.
That's our biggest concern, that we realize that nothing is perfect and things could fail. And you said 0.25, which is an excellent failure rate. It's very low, but can it be a problem where it over
Registers?
Yes.
I have not seen that issue yet. No. And I say it will ever happen.
Sure.
I can't 100% guarantee that. But I have not seen these meters over there.
And so just like what you said earlier, once they go bad, they go bad. It's like a blowout of a tire. You're not repairing it.
Right.
It's done.
Okay, so one issue I wanted to talk about or just mention is that we used to have this operations committee and I sat on it. And I remember discussing with our head of operations at that time, or our interim head of operations, this technology. And, I couldn't really pin him down too much and I didn't want to be my normal aggressive self, but it was about AMI. And ultimately what happened is we wanted to use AMI. We wanted to see if it was going to work. And we were told that AMI was going to work. And then when it was trialed, it didn't work. And I was a little bit upset about that because I felt like what I was understanding is we were sold these thinking AMI was going to work and it was never tested for us to know that it didn't work. So I hope you guys are now testing it before you sell it to somebody in a hilly area like we're in. And, do you have something to say?
Oh, well, I wanted to clarify, it will work. It will work. It was the cost was prohibitive that year was my recollection.
Right, but we bought it thinking, and we put in the budget a certain dollar amount, and that was our understanding that that's how much it was going to cost when we started working with these. That's what I understood because it was there for a couple of years.
That was for a propagation study. You guys call it a propagation.
Propagation
Yes.
study.
Oh, that's-
Yeah, and that was.
Oh, okay, so we didn't understand that, speaking myself, the royal we.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, what kind of work's being done to see how that could be resolved? Because obviously this is an issue and, living in this rural area, the ratepayers, they get, it's devastating to some people if they can't find out in time about these leaks, just devastating.
Well, I think though that the data that you get, because it's literally the activity, the use of the water is literally time-stamped and recorded and retrievable. So if there are issues with the customer, we have more of a source for explanations to the customer about why certain things occur. what came to my mind just now was, possibly we weren't, able to measure swamp cooler water use because of that little skinny quarter-inch tube, that occasionally sends water to a swamp cooler. But my point is that we have a lot more with this system. We have a lot more to work with now in terms of recorded activity of a given meter.
Right, but my question was like, where are we with AMI and, how's the technology progressing? Perhaps it's not as expensive as it was gonna be. So where are we with that?
Trying to think what.
Well, one of the reasons we're bringing up this AMI a lot is because it is mentioned in the paperwork here as something that is an option for the future if we can resolve the expense parts of it.
That was an option in the initial staff report in 2018. At that time, it wasn't selected to move forward at that time.
Well, I remember sitting and hearing that the district is going to be able to do that. So you can say that was a propagation study, but I clearly remember being told that we were going to be able to do it. And anyway.
We can't. That's true.
Right.
We can.
Uh-huh.
It's about cost.
Right.
And how are we going to fund it? Those kinds of questions.
Right.
How are we going to staff it? Because it requires somebody to be able to deal with that technology because that information is coming in all the time. So there's a lot of problems to solve, but it's good problems to solve.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to consider with the technology. We're trading one problem for another problem.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I really appreciate Director Shook implementing that for people. That's wonderful. That's a great solution. But my question is like, where's the technology now? Is the price coming down?
good question.
It has gone down slightly,
Mhm.
just as for the infrastructure. Software costs will go up, currently than what you're paying right now on the drive-by. The software is, basically installing a MDMS system, a meter data management system where you're getting real-time alarms coming through. The option for customers to set their own water usage per month and get notified if they're getting close to getting, using too much of their threshold, or they want to set a budget of $75 for this month, they can get notified, hey, you're getting close to.
Boy, that would be so great. Wow.
So as software is getting more intelligent, I guess you can say, prices have gone, slightly up on the software side.
But I thought the expense was the transmission, not the software. I thought it was the transmission because of our hilly area. And
Yeah,
those
so
are
the
these,
majority of the cost is actually on the radios and the meters. You guys have already dived into that. All the meters and radios that you guys are installing now are AMI capable.
right.
The only thing you need to add besides the software is the infrastructure, which is the antennas. And yes, because you guys are hilly and so spread out, it does require more collectors than a usual.
And I guess, are those towers or whatever, those things that would receive the signal, are those proprietary to your company?
They are, yes.
Of course. Okay, all right.
So really, when we have a couple of times expressed concern over the cost of this, it doesn't really cost the district, the administration of the district, anything. The burden of the cost is on the ratepayers. So what we're expressing here is a sensitivity about the extra expense that the ratepayers are going to have to pay for this fancy AMI system with all its antennas and stuff like that.
Right, and the demand, right, understanding how much demand there is.
Is AMI all or nothing, or can you have a portion of the 5,600 households on AMI and the rest not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put a portion, you can start with one collector and then,
Test it.
add on from there.
Well, like I said, we could do the tower like the drive-bys are. We could do the tower and at least read 2 miles around us or 2 to 3 miles. And that gets a lot of people. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? So just like we have a receiver, the radio in the drive-by thing, we would create that scenario somewhere around here, you know, in the operations, and it would be some sort of thing that then could have the same 2 mile radius as the drive-bys do. And so it would be a constant signal. We wouldn't have to drive by.
Yeah, that would. You talking about putting the drive-by unit?
Yeah, external.
A centralized tower location, right? Maybe
Yeah.
the most populated area. And it,
I'm just saying around here, right, at least, right.
Part, inner
Because,
part.
yeah, because if they can do it by driving by, they can do it being standing still, and it wouldn't be that expensive. It would be the same, it essentially be almost the same cost.
Yeah, so an antenna, an AMI antenna is basically the same cost as a drive-by unit you guys are using now.
What's the cost of that?
About 35,000.
And the radios are that much?
The radios that you're putting in the ground, no.
The radio, no, the radios that the operators have.
They have a,
In the truck.
they have a drive-by unit.
Right, so how much is a drive-by unit?
$35,000.
It's a $35,000, okay.
If
Wow.
we were to install a tower, you know, for instance, we have a parcel right next to us that requires some construction on the ground, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think majority of the cost, when we first discussed it, was we were gonna build 80-foot or 60-foot towers. Yeah, that was gonna add on to the cost. Because basically, the higher you go, the further out it's gonna reach.
That's what I.
Yeah, but the problem is that would interfere with people's viewscapes, so that would have been a whole other
Totally.
ball of wax for
Totally.
us. So, yeah, a lower tower would be better,
If
yeah.
we're installing them next to Joshua trees, then there's a permitting concern now too.
Right.
Let's put it on the Joshua tree, actually, to get that for height that we.
There you go.
Yeah.
Another big.
I'm saying that in jest.
let's make a big antenna that is a Joshua.
Yeah, no, that'd look great. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. I had to step out, so you may have answered this already, but what percentage of increases do you have any idea? Have customers been complaining about since these meters went in?
Yeah, what's the data there?
That might be more of a question.
Yeah, well,
Any idea?
I think we've asked for something like that. I think Stacy Doolittle asked for something like that. The data like that.
Well, we haven't had the explanation of the meter.
No.
This way, so that.
No, for sure. We haven't heard yet. I mean, I knew it was coming.
I've had this, this is, let me bring it over this way. This is the residential. Consumption is on the top and residential bill is on the bottom. So, and this is, I ran this last summer.
It looks like an EKG.
Oh, I know, it's making my heart palpitate.
Yeah.
But the consumption has trended downward while the water bill goes up with rates and whatnot. So as you can see, the high points are summertime months and the lower points are wintertime.
Oh, that's.
But it's a straight
little
line. It's a straight, both of them are straight lines, it looks like to me. Just-
no, that I made a line from one.
Right, yeah, but the average, the mean or whatever.
The trend, the
The
trend.
trend,
Yeah.
the trend lines.
Yeah.
I was telling that for Thomas.
It's a challenging analysis though, because people aren't consistently in their homes and we know what's changed in the
That's
last
right.
few years. And rates go up and then we are promoting conservation, so usage goes down.
Yeah,
So it's just.
And customers, so different types of usage, you know, from.
Right.
Yeah.
the Next, in that same residence. Yeah, very challenging.
Yeah, but I mean, that,
These,
yeah.
there's one. Yeah. And these are not by hour. These are a different type of,
my goodness. Okay.
Or we'll get these copies to you.
yep, I have one for you. So
Okay, so this is for 1 meter?
yes,
Cool.
okay.
On your presentation, you say that on-site water surveys are free to the customers. What does that involve? Is it something where they have to have a high bill? Because we get asked this, you know, what are they supposed to do? I know I'm gonna end up sending them to you anyway, but they ask, what
Yeah.
does that involve?
No, not necessarily. If it's something abnormal, I would say if it's, anything above what they typically use, we can put a team together and go out. There's always at least 2 people from the district that go out. We can go inside the home,
Don't go.
do an exterior tour to see if we notice anything, bubbler caps are missing, or if we
Okay.
see runoff or anything that sticks out that could have potentially caused an abnormal use.
Okay, so they can't go inside, or we don't go inside and external walk away.
Unless they have.
And the
Unless that what?
David? history is, starts when we first put the meters in?
This is a history of individual accounts. So this
Right.
first one, Sergeant President Sloan, I mistakenly printed in color for one. So the rest are black and white, but this is just one account. And so these are.
But this is from the
anonymous.
beginning of the new meter.
No,
Oh, because it goes back to 2017.
that's correct.
When did the new meters start going
There's
in?
a convenient arrow.
Yeah, oh, that's
Right.
the arrow.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
Give him a moment, Jane.
So as you can see on this, this first sheet, this person did have an abnormally high bill directly after the new meter was installed. However, upon my research, this usage, this consumption for that month was increasing, and then the new meter was put in a partial month, and it still went up. As you will see, the next 3 months in a row, with 3 units each month. So, I think this was 32 units of water for 1 month. if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
wow.
So I'm gonna use our fancy board that I installed a year ago that has it done. So these new meters, what's the range for a standard 3/4 inch meter? How much do they read? 0.18 per
The
minute.
That's the flow rate, 0.03 GPM to 35.
To 35 gallons per minute. Is that marker showing up on that side?
Hmm.
So 35 gallons per minute would mean probably like filling up a 5-gallon bucket to wash your car at full blast if you wanted to turn it on all the way, or what would that?
A hose full blown is about 10 to 15 gallons per minute.
Okay. So let's say it's a little bit more than that because that's the example I wrote down on my sheet. So I'm going to cheat and say 20 gallons per minute with a 3/4 inch meter, right? So 20 times 60 minutes, that equals 1,200. And this is now gallons. Mixed up my own math. Okay. So then we take that 1,200 for a day, and that's 28,800 gallons. And if we divide that by 748, that equals 38.5 units in 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
That's a-
enormous.
So someone could accidentally leave a hose running
Oh, yeah,
for a day
right.
and still reach that. So this example is at 32. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but mathematically, it's probably more possible something like that happened versus something happening to the meter statistically.
Right.
My husband's done it twice, and I work for a water district.
No, it happens to me. That's, yeah.
And so you can tell what time of day this has also happened, or if somebody
Well,
hypothetically.
with this example, this was over 2 years, this was 2.5 years ago, so I would not be able to go back that far.
No, but with the new meter,
Sure, if we got a read and we saw something like this,
Yeah,
we would put in the service order and ask the gentleman in the field to use the device and pull the data for it.
and you can even go, say if somebody was irrigating and they had a timer, you could go to his timer and see when when the water was turned on by the timer, and it would coincide with what you have from the new meter. Those times would-
Yeah,
And can I ask, can I just mention, I think it's worth mentioning that the district used to take up to 20 days to do meter reading. We now do it in about a day or a day and a half. And so that means that data is back in the office and being analyzed that much more quickly.
Yeah.
And we can start the next step,
The afternoon that they bring the
right?
dispatch.
And we can start the next step of investigation then, as soon as we have that data and can start analyzing it.
But if it took 20 days or whatever, wouldn't they come back on the first day of those 20 days and share that data? We waited till the end of those 20 days to share that data?
That's how the software was set.
Software, yeah,
Whoa.
All the data came in at one time.
so major improvement there.
yeah.
So for the next example, this is my house.
On what page is that? Is that on page 1 of 4?
What's the meter number?
You remember that? 964700154.
Yeah, okay.
So this is my house.
Okay.
I don't mind everybody knowing my business.
Oh,
So you can see, it's pretty, it's up and down. However, my range,
Yeah,
is, relatively low, which
Yeah.
I was pretty pleased. I have
Yeah.
a family of 5 who all shower
Oh,
fairly regularly.
very
My
good.
Teenage boys, maybe not so much. But you can also see with the convenient arrow when my new meter was installed and the same type of pattern has continued.
yeah.
The next one,
but what does the arrow, what's the arrow is where?
The next one is mine.
The new meter went in.
Okay, yeah, okay. And what are all these data, what are all the dots on to the right of the arrow? There are more what do those dots represent?
those are just the data points. I can only stretch it out so far.
Oh, okay.
Before it becomes really annoying.
So those are like months, those are what?
Right, yeah, months.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
So
The bill date? You have bill dates on here.
that. I do, yes. This, the graph is made from all of this
Yeah,
information.
yeah.
So do these dots represent the bill?
Bill
dates?
dates.
Bill date.
Yeah, it looks.
That seems like
Okay.
it, yeah.
Okay,
By month,
correct.
yes.
Yeah.
So the next one, this person, which is meter ending 8758. You can see when their new meter was installed and historically they have had very similar usage
Huh.
on the old meter compared to their new meter.
Let me find it real quick. Okay, there it is, 8758. Okay, got it. It seems like we skipped one, but.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we're on a
I
different,
have a different order than you.
Okay, yeah.
I have,
Sorry,
am I looking at 6146?
no.
All right, that's an interesting one.
It's page,
Looks like.
They are like that.
oh,
Can't say what
That's
page it is.
confusing.
Yeah,
yeah,
don't let her notice that.
Here it is,
87.
Yeah.
That's it.
758.
Wow.
So these are all
This is a crazy.
examples of people that are either in this room or have been in this room, just so you're all aware. I'm not gonna name names.
Well, I'm gonna go look at my meter numbers.
Yeah, I wonder what mine,
I should have removed that.
it'll be on. It'll be on it. Yeah.
All right, so the next one, 6146,
Well, I know this
Which
isn't
is-
mine. Wow, look at that.
3 or 4 big spikes.
That's like an empty house with Airbnb.
Well, what's interesting is that this,
Yeah, look at that.
this is where the new meter was installed, right after a little bump.
Like, yeah,
But then it had about a year of relatively very, very low consumption. And then all of a sudden it spiked up and went right back down. And then this person said the meter was bad.
oh,
So when the meter goes bad, it doesn't go back good.
right,
right.
right.
We learned that.
So
One, good grief. That's quite a,
are we done with this part? I just had with these. So I had a question. So, we're very woo-woo in Joshua Tree, if you know the word woo-woo and kind of what that means. And, there are things that are called vortexes, energy vortexes or vortices. And, I just had a thought, how is the meter protected from shifts in the electromagnetic field from the ground? And I figured you might not be able to answer that, but I'm just wondering if it's something weird like that. I just wanted to get that out.
That only happens out at the Integratron, and that's a different.
No, we have them out here too. We have them out here because it's so weird that, actually I could never get my bearings when I first moved here and I lived up closer to the park. I never could, like close to where Kathleen lives. I could not ever tell what was north, south, east, and west when I lived up there. It wasn't until I moved down here that I was able to do it. So there's something in, we respond to electromagnetic fields just like animals do. You know what I mean? That's how they actually find their way around. That's how they return to spawning grounds and things like that. So I'm just wondering about how the eye pearl is protected from electromagnetic fields
So
and the earth.
if there is a high enough electromagnetic field to deter with the meter, it will actually flag that magnetic tamper alarm. So it will actually flag it.
Okay.
Knowing that there is outside.
That's the same thing as if somebody brought a magnet next to it. It's the same mechanism, right?
Exactly.
So it can't interfere with the electrodes on the inside. If you bring a magnet to it, what does it do?
Not honestly, not
It's
much to
pretty
the eye pearl.
stationary in there.
Uh-huh.
It's not gonna move them around.
Yeah, it's the people who brought the magnets was more for the older mechanical meters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's woo-woo?
Woo, you don't know that word woo-woo? Oh, it just.
How would that affect the AI? I mean, if we.
No, I said for me to even. So what I meant was, I just meant that I've heard of vortices, vortexes. In fact, I first heard it when I went to someplace in Arizona 40 years ago. But so that's why I brought it up, is that people, here talk about these energy vortexes, and it is very much the Integratron and places like that.
Physics.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
For us here too.
Yeah. Because there's supposed to be little, little energy.
Not
things.
under, it's up
It's
here.
up. Oh,
Well, it could be also, no, it can be from the ground.
Actually, there's 7 in the world according to what I was educated about.
Yeah.
6 of them are right
And
here.
we're one of them.
I live right by the gate, and one of the 7 wonders of these vortexes is in the national park. I thought, oh, lucky me. But
That's probably why I could never get my sense of direction.
There was
Okay.
a study that was done,
Wow.
downtown Joshua Tree is slightly electrified. Steve Brown chased it down about 15 years ago. Steve Brown, the journalist, and it's due to taking the neutral and using the neutral as a ground. So it's putting a tendency of electricians to do for the last 40, 50, 60 years. So there's actually a slight electrical current in downtown Joshua Tree, a slight from the ground.
Wow,
It's a very slight one.
explains a lot.
Give you-
Thank you for all this data. I didn't mean to step on that.
Okay, all right, thank you. That,
Just a real quick question. What I see. I see that we're going to be paying for water that was once lost, so we're gonna have revenue coming in, so that's saving money. I mean, that's good for the water district. That's a benefit. The other thing is we're saving water. The other one is we're saving drive time on these guys driving around.
Right.
So that's wear and tear on the vehicles, fuel, his time,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good thing if we had this. The other thing is, my question is the antenna an antenna that's connected to in here that goes to the computer, or is it like a repeater that it sends it?
So we do point to point. So we basically, the meter itself, or the smart point, which is this unit here, will actually communicate directly to the tower. We can deploy the tower at any strategic location within the district. That's why we run the propagation study. And what that does is it actually takes all the data that's hosted in the server. It gets all the reads, it actually sends it up to the cloud. There's some type of device in there hooked up to internet somehow, and it actually sends that information to the cloud where everyone logs in and sees that information.
Okay, my next question is the last one. Is 5 or 6G going to affect that?
Hmm.
No?
So what Census did is, with the primary license frequency, Census actually purchased a family company that owned that license. They bought it for $65 million just to close it down and basically own the FCC frequency that they did. The reason why they did that is so they can limit infrastructure for AMI systems. And with the primary license, we actually monitor any interference that could be happening. If it gets above a certain threshold, we can actually contact the FCC and say, hey, you know, this company, usually it's a cell phone company, is going into this frequency, which is ours. We can actually, FCC will actually make them put filters on their equipment to get out of our frequency. So any interference that's happening on the outside, it's FCC protected. And they will be required to apply filters, or they will be fined daily until they don't.
One more?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that means that if you're looking at it, we don't actually need to build one right on the property right here. We should go to the highest place. And there's places already being used for 5G antennas that they actually give some kind of kickback or to those places that are already there. So there's already places that are high up that are existing that we could properly use. Or if there's happens to be a house on a hill that has a space, you could probably, with their permission, use their property because it's at the top of a hill.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we can install anywhere where we get permissions.
So they'd be 2 miles apart from each other. The antennas, is that the way that works?
Usually, yeah, we try to get it between the 2 to 5 miles apart. Just so there's a little bit of, if one does go down, you know, you have the redundancy to pick up all the other reads. So I think for here, I think 2 collectors actually cover almost 90% of the district.
Really?
And I think,
Collectors, $35,000 a piece, you mean?
yeah. But there's some outlying areas that are, you know, obviously a little more remote. But since then, we've actually released a lower cost base station, which is almost less than a quarter of that cost, which is made for those remote areas where it picks up only 100 meters that are, you know, within a mile that we can install. So that's also where the cost, lower cost can come.
Did we have to add something to the meters though, or no?
No.
Okay.
So how it works is these meters are actually in drive-by mode. So as they come out and read it, the meter will send a signal. It gets the radio number. But every 21 days, this is a migratable unit. So it actually sends an AMI signal every 21 days. And if it gets a response back from a tower, these meters will automatically switch to an AMI mode and start sending hourly reads as opposed to when someone drives by. So all the equipment you have out in the field
That's
is
cool.
all ready to go.
I have a question. About the woo-woo. And this is an honest question, because I don't know about that, but
It means new age, you guys. Woo-woo, I think means new age. Okay.
the.
New agers, remember those?
Unexplained UFO.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right, yeah.
Why would it target one person in a neighborhood? Or
What?
why would?
Oh, right.
affect one?
Well, I don't know.
When we look into
Yeah.
these, I look at surrounding properties.
Yeah,
To see if they've had
Yeah.
anything even remotely close to
right.
similar usage.
That's a
and
brilliant
it's
question.
never,
That's
Ever been.
very good question. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the planet's mad at them, but I don't know. You know, I just was throwing it out there, just trying to, because again, I'm coming from these people that are so ardent and we're so confused. Now, I know that the district has explained to me in the past, you know, some other, another view, another side to the story. But there has been, you know, at least one story, maybe 2 stories that it just seems so inexplicable. So anyway, that's why I brought up that woo-woo thing.
So, I'm assuming that these magnets that create the charge and reads the charge and all that, that's isolated from, say, the casing and everything that holds meter contents, so to speak. And so as time goes by, we're gradually replacing the ABS service line that goes from the meter to the main line with copper. So, and then that would attach to the body of the meter. And so in effect, the body of the meter is grounded by this length of copper, which would vary in length. I think it's over 20 feet at my house of copper. So if there's ambient electricity in the air from any source, like lightning, it would want to go to the most groundable object, which would be that copper water line that's attached to the meter, and then it would go to ground. So would that sort of eliminate the possibility of vortexes, and I think there was a second thing too, I can't remember, having an effect on the readings of the meter, having the darn thing grounded by our own copper water pipe. Well, a lot of things that we have, there's a green wire that's screwed to a case
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that, that goes to
The ground.
the third ground pin in a electrical socket. Kind of
The
a
meter
thing.
would be under warranty and we could replace that.
Does Director Short have any comments? And maybe he can answer that question since he has a background in electricity.
I'm trying to save my voice, but I'm thinking yes. It kind of, I guess, act like a Faraday's cage in a way. I did actually look up Faraday's law while we were discussing it, just to
That's what that is.
Cool.
refresh. That's one of the benefits of being at home. You can Google stuff. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I'm guessing the conductor in this case would be passing through the magnetic field would be the water. And the only way that we could get a reading from like a vortex on that would, I don't see how that could impact it personally.
All right.
But again, I've been out of that field for quite some time. But I have no questions.
Thank you.
Moving along.
Did we put in a bio break or?
Yeah, but I have one last question, just back to the costs. So the towers, you were saying, the radio is roughly 35,000 plus the tower construction. Installation, procuring the land, all of those pieces. Then there's the software that you had mentioned. What's the cost of the software?
It depends. There's different modules of the software. So there's a customer portal piece with that, which adds on to it, which is pretty popular right now. Everyone's kind of going into a portal just for the data. Annually, you're looking, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. I would say without the portal, you're looking at about 17,000 per year. With the portal, you're probably going to add about 12,000 to that.
Okay,
I would say.
that's a regular reoccurring subscription cost.
That's a subscription cost annual.
With imagine an annual escalator of some sort.
3%, yeah. And
Okay,
then there's also, we do offer an annual maintenance agreement for the base station or the antenna. So if something were to go down, you just call us and we come in, we repair the unit, we fix the unit, labor, parts, everything's taken care of.
okay. I know that was not planned, but thank you for having
Yeah, no
that
problem.
information.
Again, I'm shooting, so if I'm off by a little bit, please.
Thanks a lot, Steve. This has been so helpful. Really.
Good. The whole point is to,
And you too, David.
reassure all of us that this choice that was made 5 years ago and that we're coming to a close on this program, that it was, a good choice and that we can feel secure in the meters that we have in the ground and that we're going to get another 15 years out of the first batch, because the first batch went in 5 years ago. And now we're finalizing that last 40 roughly, and we're going to finish on time, which is pretty spectacular considering that staffing and the pause we had during COVID. So we still managed to finish this program on time. So I'm excited about that.
So I noticed that we're most vulnerable on what would be the evaporative cooler situation, because evaporative coolers use very little water at a time. So it sounds like this is being caught.
Yes, where it wasn't before.
Yeah, that's a large amount of water.
Yeah.
Because, on average, we're 6 or 7 gallons per hour for evaporative coolers if they have the mineral bleed off.
Yeah.
And sir, I could be incorrect. A couple of years ago, it was a while ago, several years ago, we gave you guys meters to do a test against evaporative coolers. Do you recall that?
Yep.
Oh,
Do you recall that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was 6, 7 years ago.
I remember. Mhm.
So I don't know what the outcome was of it,
It,
but
it was on a triple digit day, the swamp coolers averaged over 90 gallons of water a day. By using the test with those,
with the meter, with the
Yep.
iPhone.
and we didn't know that before then.
Yeah.
So it's capturing what's realistic.
Exactly. So that 90 gallons wasn't picked up before with the other.
I can't say whether it was or wasn't, but depending on whatever you gave us,
Mhm.
the amount of ones that we used, and we had different old, we had new, we had everything. That was a very stark reality. Came out and no one expected that we were using that much water on a triple digit day.
And also, I think it's important to note these situations where we have customers contacting us of issues. They're really, they have been a couple of ones that Vice President Doolittle talked about. They're severe. It's a big deal. But the good news, on the other hand, 99.5% of people are not complaining. It's just the small pocket. So but they're loud. So you definitely hear them when they come up and.
And confused. They're confused.
Of course.
Mhm.
So hopefully this gives us a little bit more information so that we can share it and be able to let our ratepayers know we're doing the best that we can with, the resources that we have.
Yeah, very
And-
accurate tool.
Very
to make
accurate.
do one thing,
Right.
basically.
And in the past, that water that was free, that there was a cost to pump that out of the ground and to get it here. So that was not fairly distributed. And now we're making that correct.
I actually wanted to make a little comment on your point that by this, seeing this report, consumption history report, it doesn't, none of these really show the consumption going up radically after the thing's installed.
Exactly correct.
Yeah, so,
And that's
now we have something, to back up what we might say. That it could be some other reason that it's going up also, that we'll explore,
right.
obviously.
Irrigation or a hose being left on is.
Yeah.
In the next wave, I have some pictures to demonstrate it.
Good, it's a good
And
segue,
video as well.
good segue.
It's a little bio break.
Sure.
Oh,
We'll pause the workshop for a comfort break.
I'm gonna go try some of that pop.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some flavored. Pop.
can I run to Subway and get a sandwich?
No.
No, I brought cheese sticks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Does anybody have a emery board? I broke a nail and it's really distracting me. I thought I had an emery board.
No, I don't have that. I bought.
All prepared.
Don't even have a pocket when
I have one.
In fact, I was looking at my nail, I'm like,
That's-
I don't know, all my nails are short and I still broke them.
yeah.
An emery board though.
Oh, yeah, those were pretty good.
Oh, I've got one of those, but not on me, yeah.
But it worked. It's a little,
No, I need it a little rougher, I think, than that.
I got scissors too.
I got teeth.
Stand up a little bit. Well, I guess we covered that pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tom,
Okay.
you don't know who he is, do you?
No, I had two
I-
possibilities.
From the base.
I wasn't one of them.
I'd be in the vortex.
Yeah, the vortex.
Yeah, there you go.
They're, yep,
I live in Joshua Tree, so,
so do I.
yeah.
They're not, the meetings aren't usually this boring.
Fascinating, what do you mean?
It's not budget right now.
Your background, what you do and why you're here.
Okay, so, background, I am, working in the Government External Affairs Office on base. I am what's called an encroachment manager. And basically that entails is any impact on the Marine Corps base and, you know, identifying that. Right now, we're trying to do an outreach to
Oh, you.
sort of districts and, you know, all the boards in the community saying, hey, you have a face with a name. If you have any questions about what's going on there or vice versa, we can.
He says he zooms in or probably will zoom in. It wasn't quite clear. He says he's been on there, but I didn't
If you
know.
see Phil on the board, that's
I recognize you. I don't know if you've been on an MBCA meeting. Something, what's your name?
Phil Murray.
And you're here because of, I missed that part.
Oh, no, I work on base.
Okay.
I work in the Government External Affairs Office.
Okay.
I'll get my elevator speech down. But part of my position is to, you know, be a touch point to the community as the encroachment manager. That's the program.
You're the top one in that, or is
No.
there one above you?
No, there are a couple more. But if you worked with Christina Brown or Aaron Adams.
I remember for John Ricker.
Okay, yep. Jim retired. Jim Ricker retired 5 years ago now.
I caught one, ate it the next day.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
It's this big and that line.
It's a yellow jack.
Oh.
We ate it the next day.
Don't say
Yeah.
free.
Fishy one time, yeah.
That is part of that.
More than some of the
So
guys.
the Marine Corps program is under my purview.
The green what?
The Marine Corps program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Then Taker, NBCA in 2000.
There's fish.
Became a convert, a member of NBCA. That's how we got section 33 going. Your biceps. And
Right,
we also got
They cleaned it right off.
involved because.
Yeah.
And this guy came up.
$1,000
and some goodies. Yeah, so that was pretty.
A carrot.
2010.
That's supposed to be.
Wow.
So the combination of
Oh, good.
and
So we saw some rock pile
And-
there.
we also did have.
Thank you. Your time to me out.
Sure.
Yeah. Up the valley, right?
Yeah, Valley, not too far.
Okay.
Started in LA.
That's surrounding us.
In that direction.
Quite happy.
But it was snowing in Big Bear, you know.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Got history.
When we,
Awesome.
before our meeting started, so,
Okay.
Brown.
They needed it. I was up there a couple weeks ago.
oh, yeah, I know they.
It was like 60 degrees up there and in February. It was.
Yeah, we had 80 here.
Yeah.
Be happy to give an update on the program at some point.
But yeah, be careful because there was hail the other day too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knows the weather these days, right?
Exactly.
I do.
Oh, so you learned some stuff then
I
today.
do.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Really appreciate your time. Where do you live?
I just live in Apple Valley.
Oh, okay. Well, safe travels
Yeah.
on that road.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, okay.
247, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alyssa,
Bye.
Good night.
curious about the,
Good night.
Good night.
you know, I can talk to Sarah, but I can also like, I'm curious about the,
Oh, okay.
they tell me about the FCC, spectrum.
Mhm.
Just like what that band is to make sure it's,
Oh, yeah, you need to know that, huh? What David Shook can tell you.
My car, I'm ready to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
all the time.
okay, I
Yeah,
get
that's
David, but
instrument.
I'm gonna try to get back.
to the latest live session.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fascinated. I get to watch all the planning board commission meetings now
Such bad shape.
and,
Day.
local and the county, so it's
Good. It's hard.
all over.
Yes.
Maybe it'll inspire you in the future to run for some sort of office, you know?
Well, you're a civilian employee, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, I wanna do a little more, actually.
I am,
I just paused it.
You do it all in the water and they have.
it was prior service Coast Guard. Been out here for 8 years now.
Do you play music?
I don't, not anymore.
I was,
Do you like music? Maybe I've seen you at a music venue. Tomatoes.
I've
Tomatoes?
paid
Yeah, that's where I think.
I-
for
I think I
COVID
saw Tom
and then.
Okay.
Saturday morning at the Copper Mountain Mesa.
Oh, yeah, the next step. I'm gonna do the gym first.
I hang out there.
Yeah, Jim's fine, I just.
It was incredible.
It was hard, really hard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For not as.
Nice.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
I like both of them.
I'll be
If
right.
you get anybody here for
My brain.
well, I might.
any kinds, I'm delighted to.
Yoga.
Yes, those are right.
When I lived in Michigan, I belonged to the.
I think it's probably a good thing we don't have people here, so that's what our job is.
$10
Oh,
a
gosh.
month.
It's not, we're not being
And I
transparent
went to a yoga class,
for people who don't know.
beginners, but
Yeah.
consistently, and I loved it.
My
I mean, transparency is there if somebody wants to look at it.
Yeah.
Transparency is the board is their representative.
Yeah,
And she's one of the strongest people.
You know, it doesn't mean, oh, look,
Yeah.
not being transparent for people.
yeah.
No competition and it's.
The only thing I can't do is
I didn't-
stand on one leg with this,
Still have to.
this
do that.
pose. But otherwise I could do stuff.
Yeah, I know, you were.
What is it, the tree? I mean,
Tree pose, yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's
Sure.
wonderful.
Follow up.
Yeah,
All right, are we ready?
we're all here, I guess.
So we have to worry about, a discussion about,
What is this? What's this?
Oh, I'll tell you about it in my report.
Oh, I see, okay.
Right.
Trying to find it on the,
Another administrative remedy, Chromium 6.
oh, okay.
in other words, I like arguing about issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I use the term argue
Yeah, this is really interesting.
positively.
I would like to see my own. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking this might be, but it's not. I could tell,
Here,
because it goes back before I bought the house.
it's gone.
We're all bad.
And guys telling
Okay.
him. No, I get it.
Oop, we just lost Kathleen.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Taking a call.
Okay, workshop, still in session. Reminder that we probably be informal with some back and forth stuff.
Down on the left, it was probably about halfway through. There's a black slide that says cap revisit again.
People washing their hands. Over here.
Is she on the phone? Is that what that is?
Need to shut that.
The girl will work now that it's unpaused. Okay. So all right. I'll try to make the next 4 hours go as quickly as. But in all seriousness, I'd like to thank the board for even bringing the cap question up. It's something that I kind of go back and forth for, and I'll try to explain that during the presentation and my rationale behind that. So let's just jump in. The reason I have cap revisited again was that there was a staff report completed in 2019.
Oh,
2018, fall 2018, sorry, where the cap was revisited and a few minor changes were made at that time. So the Customer Account Assistance Program, or CAP, was previously named the Water Account Assistance Program. That name was changed due to a questionable acronym.
oh,
I will leave it there. About 27 years ago, to assist customers that experience large bills from unknown or accidental circumstances, such as leaks and or water theft. And the cap was revisited, like I mentioned, fall 2018, noting a few key points. The CAC actually voted to eliminate the program, citing customers should have more personal responsibility and accountability, a 10-fold increase in the cost of the cap program from 2013 up to 2017.
oh,
Those figures are in the staff report and they will also be on the slide. So in addition, leaving the district open to complaints of bias when a primary residence is also used as a home business versus being rented as a vacation rental. Some additional notable points, as I mentioned, from 2013 to 17, the cap increased from $609 in 1 year up to $6,700 in 2017. In 2020, the cap peaked at over $10,000. I'm not sure what the reason for that was. That was quite a bit before my time, but I like math, so I put the average since 2013 has been $4,600. Prior to the program, such requests for assistance were rare and actually had to be heard by the board of directors at a public meeting. Currently, the budget is set for $12,000 for 24-25, and activity is now 5530. My apologies, that is incorrect. As of today, we actually approved 2 more cap facilities, but it shouldn't be more than $6,000. Coincidentally, the United Way program budget is $6650 for 24-25, and activity is now 1100. Just a caveat here, 650 of this budget is for administrative costs, and we are able to assist customers with 6,000.
Oh,
Is this fiscal?
Yes,
Okay, so we're halfway through.
little over by now.
So I'm trying to understand that you said in the previous slide, and I don't see it in my notes, that the CAC voted to eliminate the program. Was the program eliminated?
No,
Okay, that's why I'm confused.
that was their input at the time.
Right, okay, yeah, okay. Right, and so then it came before the board and the board decided not to eliminate it.
Yes.
Okay, and then one thing you're addressing it up in the $700 difference in their bill, right? So that's that's the big concern for me.
All right, so applicants often don't qualify. The current qualifications, the account holder must show proof of the repair. We've collected everything from plumber's bills to Home Depot receipts, just verifying that something was made to fix the problem. Customers are limited to 2 caps within a 5-year period. Customers must live as primary residents at the property address. That's been an issue. We've had a lot of people that are running STRs or in the process of getting all their permitting apply for a cap because they had some kind of issue at the property. Therefore, they are not eligible.
mhm.
We oftentimes have property managers and contractors blaming the district or blaming the meters. So we do our due diligence and deploy the device or go and try to get as much data as we can. When the fact of the matter is, we even had one property manager come in and say that they were getting sued by the homeowner because of their negligence. So the property manager was blaming it on the district so that they weren't getting in trouble with the property owner. Issues, the difference not exceeding the $700 difference from the prior year. I actually have an example for that, and I have a nice fresh whiteboard here. Part-time residents applying. A lot of people deny that they have a leak or an issue. Whereas we try to convince them, if you did hire a plumber and they came out and found something, then we could help you. But they ignore that and would rather say that we're doing something wrong.
Oh,
And they can fix the leak themselves too, right?
Yes.
And show proof of repair, so they don't have.
Or if they
to
know a
hire
handyman or
somebody.
something, we have to have some proof
Proof.
that it's been
documentation.
worked on and fixed.
General manager, does your microphone, you're pointing yourself in the other direction and my hearing aids can't hear you.
It was
Yeah.
clarifying that a property owner doesn't necessarily have to hire a plumber. It's their property. Maybe they're handy and they can make the repair themselves. As long as they just prove to us that the repair was made, then they would be eligible for the cap.
Yeah, we take
Even if they take a picture.
pictures,
Yes.
videos, receipts, yeah. And an explanation of what they've done to fix it. Okay, so other districts, Joshua Basin's cap is above and beyond what many other districts do. I've researched probably 10 or 12 districts that are of comparable size and connection, some that are way more than we have. I wanted to put this caveat here that STR owners may be eligible for tax deductions on those utility bills. Since they're running a business, they don't get the benefit of having a decreased bill for the cap assistance and then get to write off a utility bill.
Right, they would claim it as a loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is common in my research? No interest payment plans. offer that often. That's one of our
Yeah.
go-to options.
May I have a question?
United Way.
So is that for any amount that we do no interest payment plans, for any amount? That you know of, right?
That I've experienced. Yes.
So no stipulation on that.
Okay.
And sometimes if someone's eligible for the cap, we apply the cap and then do a payment plan on top of that. So we.
Oh, if there's more than the cap
Yes.
covers, right? Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
United Way. And the county aging department, that's something that just came up kind of out of nowhere, I think, summer of 2023, maybe, where we learned about that. And so we're able to mention this to some of our more seasoned customers, that they may be eligible to contact the county aging department and receive some sort of assistance. That program has actually assisted with full water bills. Unfortunately, we had a very successful LEWAP program, but the funding for that ran out. We used up every scrap of that we could, but that's no longer an option for us. So
You mean in the future, that won't be an option?
not
LEWA,
that I've heard, not that I've heard.
was that federally funded or?
It was a federally funded state pass-through,
Yeah.
Right, so it's unlikely to be around. Mhm.
which then the counties were allocated in certain.
Mhm.
So some exceptions, one district offers two-week extensions per year. One-time extension per year at a property, or per person, excuse me, at a property per year.
An extension is postponing the payment?
Yes.
Okay.
The caveat of qualifying for a residential energy program, I was nosy and I looked up the utility company in the Imperial Valley where I'm from. The only option that they have specifically for water is for a small canal. I can't remember what I said, but you had to qualify for a residential energy program to even apply for that water assistance program.
So this looks like you're saying the same thing. Is that or is the caveat? What does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what you're saying. So the exemption is a caveat of qualifying for a residential energy program to even apply. I'm going to read it to everybody. Yeah. No, that's the guys.
Basically, what it means is for that particular utility, a customer had to qualify for an energy program to even apply for a
first.
water program.
First.
But that's,
Yeah.
but, oh, this is other districts.
makes-
Okay, got it. All right.
That kind of makes sense, actually.
This is
Yeah,
common
other
that I've found.
districts.
These are-
Right, okay, all right.
These all offer no interest payment plan. One very large district offers a verified, kind of like we do with a plumber's bill, reduction once a year, and an unverified with no proof at all,
Oh.
once every 5 years. So
Oh.
somebody could come in and say, I don't feel like paying my bill this month. Do you have anything that can help me? And they don't require any proof to show that the problem was fixed before they are allowed to use that. So, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we do offer a free water survey and site visit. Sorry, my throat is getting.
Mhm.
Just some more information, according to ChatGPT, so hopefully that's fairly accurate, but if the entire property is rented out through Airbnb, you may deduct 100% of utility bills such as electricity and water and gas as business expenses.
Mhm.
This was also cited in the previous resolution 18-992. I believe that was also in fall of 2018.
And that
So here's my
resolution,
disclaimer
okay, go ahead.
is that if anybody's interested in looking into that, please do. I'm not a tax professional, nor do I want to be. So, if they do that, those are the documentation requirements.
But you said this is cited in resolution 18-992. What is that
I
resolution?
think that's that is when the cap was updated from $400
Okay.
difference to $700.
Okay. Mhm.
Changes. 3 hours to go. Okay, so changes to the cap or promote accountability. This is. I'll let the video speak for itself.
An Airbnb, I can tell that right away. The ladder outside.
That was leaking for a long time.
Yeah. Wow.
What beautiful sunset that is.
Yeah, right. There's water going right to it. Oh, my goodness.
We're encouraging native plants though.
Yeah, right.
No, I never did.
Onward into.
A free-form
So
irrigation.
unfortunately, this person does not qualify.
No.
So this was the second leak of this size at this property.
Oh, my goodness.
So let me just show you that. Can you move that bottom left screen slightly? Thank you. We went out there. This is the same leak. This is just different areas of,
Oh,
and our field staff are very, very smart. They taught me, if you look down where the water went, you will see these greasewood shrubs are drastically more green than the ones that were slightly over. So that means the water was going for a long period of time and has saturated and kind of done its thing.
That's
When we
great.
went out to evaluate this property, and when I say we, I go with permission, of course, with the field staff to evaluate and research and do what we can. This was the fix for this leak, was exposed PVC. We walked up and this was in a hole in the middle of the property. And then this is actually the same property on the opposite side where this PVC was kicked, or I don't know, something with that car hood or something that
Fell on it.
knocked it over or what. So
mm.
this has been an interesting case. Issues when selling properties.
Can we
This
go back?
was-
Can I just, I don't know, that last property, did they ask for twice? Did they come in twice and ask for some sort of, okay, all right.
So this is a $1.2 million home on the south side of the district. I'll leave it there, but this is what we came upon on one small leak was a 3/4 inch PVC. They tried to upgrade to 1.5 PVC
Okay.
here. So once this broke, the plumber fixed it with electrical conduit. And then once that snapped.
We have a pond. We have a pond.
Cauldron, I like that.
So these are the types of things that we see.
Yeah.
Very, very often. I mentioned in the first half, about leaving a hose on.
Yeah.
These are actually both ones that I personally, this is actually on my street, and this is one street up. I saw this in the driveway, and then I walked towards the side yard, just followed this here.
Oh, yeah.
And so I knocked on the door, they're guests staying in an Airbnb, and they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, the manager came to fill the pool yesterday, and we haven't even been outside," and this was at 1:30 PM. So the hose was in the pool and the water had filled up and knocked it down and was just going. So this was another one. This one's a little hard to see, but this down the street, these two pictures stemmed from a garden hose barely being on that had overflowed a garden bed underneath their front two windows by their living room. And I just turned it off. And so this literally just went right through the yard, all the way out into the street. And that small amount
Wow.
caused
Right.
that amount of water. And then by the end of the day, by the time I went home, all of that water, you couldn't see any of it. So it disappears just as quickly as it appears.
But the Airbnb would not qualify for help, but this other one might?
That's correct, but there was nobody at that place. And what we've learned happens is if someone gets evicted, they go ahead and just turn something on to increase the cost for the property owner.
Hmm.
And I wanted
Where's our moral
Oh,
center?
man.
I wanted to point out what David was talking about here with this water being dried up the very next day or that afternoon when he went home. Points to our very high percolation rates here. So sometimes people will have a leak and they don't see it because it just doesn't rise to the top.
Ah,
And they don't
right.
believe that they have a leak, but they really do because our
Right.
ground is just sucks it in really fast in a lot of places, not everywhere, but in a lot of places.
Right, and
And
so that's why I have said, I wonder about, this isn't like water that's wasted that goes down a drain. It is returned, some of it's returned to our aquifer.
But how do we quantify it?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Just do a basic quantification where we give everybody, knock off 20% or 10% or whatever. Anyway, I'm just, tossing that out.
Valid.
And we
Valid
okay.
idea. However, I did look up percolation rates and evaporation rates. Perk rates range from 0.1 to 10 millimeters a day, depending on the soil and conditions, if it's summertime, if it's windy, if it's. Evaporation rates in the summer, 0.25 to half an inch per day. In the spring and fall, a quarter of an inch to a third of an inch per day. And in the winter, 0.05 to 0.15 inches per day. And those are also affected by temperature, humidity, wind, water surface area. All of these affect evaporation rates. So it'd be really hard to find. I'd have to do a topographical geologic assessment of the soil to see how much went down versus how much just went up.
So that down was in milliliters and all the other things were in inches. It would have been good if that was in inches, but and that's desert data or is that just
Yes.
general data?
Yes, it is.
Oh, where'd you find that data?
ChatGPT.
Oh, ChatGPT, okay.
There's also the issue of electricity too, this is the part about how, what do we lose because the water goes right back into the ground again. It's indicated on our electric bill. And this afternoon I signed a check to Edison for $43,000.
Right.
So there's, depending on how much of that there is, it could be, we lose.
There's a cost to pump it out, you're right, and
Right.
there's a labor cost to get it to where it needs to go, so. Yes, some of it does percolate back into the ground, but we don't know what that measure is, and then, then we have to determine, was it a leak or did?
Negligence.
Negligence, yes.
I was just gonna make a quick comment that this could explain some of the unexplained. For example, you were saying that you noticed it, so you turned it off. So if these people never even knew that they had a leak and then the evidence was gone, that I would have been a person that called up and said, I haven't done anything different.
Right,
I can see that. I think there's a lot of people in this community that do watch out for their neighbors. And if it's something as simple as a hose being left on to go turn it off, and I wouldn't necessarily knock on the door, I would just shut it off. And so that just, there's so many factors involved that.
Yeah, they were on vacation. They were sleeping in and, I don't know when they would have gone outside if I hadn't
Right.
knocked on the door.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, also, I called my neighbor when the swamp cooler water was running off the roof. He thanked me because nobody's there and I heard the drip, drip, drip. But I don't know how he's out of the area and I don't have any idea how it affected their bill, but.
So one of my initial thoughts was to potentially increase the United Way. It could be in combination with changing the cap or however I'm directed. So I would propose to increase from $100 a year to $200 a year. Might provide a bit more of an incentive to submit the documentation. So with that, we do have a limited budget, but even if this was 2,200, we wouldn't reach it. So my thought is to not change the budget and we assess how it goes for the next year or so. to see if we can get closer to that, because we all like to give people the United Way and the cap, and when someone applies and they turn in all the stuff and they're eligible, we're like, yes, like we get to do a cap. That's how we all feel. We don't want to hold it back from anyone. We, like I said, we just did 2 today.
Are you saying this is a form of the cap? Under that umbrella of the cap?
No, this
But you
is
just
United
said,
Way.
yeah, I know, but you just said something about the cap.
The recommendation is to leave the cap as it is currently, because it is a unique program that many other districts don't offer anything even close to it. But rather, instead of changing the cap, it instead increase United Way.
I think it's confusing.
I have seen, I don't know whether it's my turn.
I'm sure.
Well, go ahead.
First of all, I wanted to say I applied for the United Way just to know what the process was, and they're gonna pay my bill I already paid it, but they're gonna pay it back, or so I'm not quite sure how that works. But and so I would agree the 200 would be easy, because we haven't spent that much anyway from that 6,000. And I was here when we increased it from, I think it was 60 to 100, and it still didn't increase it much. But it is a bit of a process to apply. You have to get some paperwork, and you have to, and if you take time, they might make you reapply, you know, if you've not finished it in time or something. Yeah, and it's only good for a bill if you're struggling that particular month or something to pay. It's not really related to, I don't think it's really meant to or related to major leaks or major unusual expenses.
Yes.
And that's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
When it's time.
So the part that confuses me is this, are you saying that when somebody has a leak, they can apply for financial relief up to $200? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Let's talk about the cap.
There we go.
Yeah, the cap
That's
is
what
different.
confuses me, because that sounds,
There's
when I
two
read
different
that,
things.
when I read that,
Use your
it
board.
sounds like United Way pays a portion themselves.
No.
When I read that. So
We have United Way, which is currently $100 per year for customers to potentially qualify for.
And that money comes from United Way,
That
Yes.
money comes from this district.
given to United Way.
They have to process it for us. So we send them a check. They write the full check for the full amount. They process all the applications, like what
Yeah.
Dr. Charlesburg went through, and then they let us know on our end that customer
It was-
qualifies and
right.
that account is credited with that money.
Do they have to be low income?
Yes, it's a
Yes.
low income assistance program, and it can be utilized.
You have to prove it.
You have to prove it. It could be for no reason, or it could be for a reason that you had a high bill for some abnormal reason.
Yes,
It's always been low
That's
income.
very important with United Way.
Yes.
right.
I'm trying to understand, wait a minute now. These people, we're saying that we might we're recommending $200, that we support them with $200 to offset the cost of their bill through United Way. Why are we doing it through United Way? Because we can't directly give money to the person?
That's my understanding. We can't directly administer those funds for a low income assistance program. Is that?
So, and is that your understanding from our council, or?
Well, I think, again, we're talking about two separate
Yeah.
things, one being the low income assistance.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we have the United Way in place to administer that program for
For
us.
low income
It
assistance.
would be a burden, to the district to have to administer
Totally.
that and.
Oh, okay.
It took to do it,
Documentation
Okay.
that customers would have to provide to prove their status. So the United Way was sought out to administer that for us, and they do that for an administrative fee, which is
We do
the
pay them.
600 or 650, something like that.
250 on the 600, I thought, or 6,000, 650 on the 6,000.
Kathleen was very instrumental in getting this program off the ground, so she has some
At the
historical.
time we did it, the ruling was we the district could not directly give a discount or money back because it came from ratepayer fees. We're community owned. And according to our legal counsel at the time, no, we cannot do that. But the workaround was we went through the county who gives us money on late fees for property taxes. We get a portion, something like some portion, and
Yeah,
and it
property
was
taxes.
from the late fees. We were allowed to take as much as that as we wanted and use it because it was not technically ratepayers' money to our water. It was late fees on property taxes through the county that we get a portion. So that's how it started. That was the seed program, and they estimated $60 once a year. Then we progressed just recently and we bumped it. And according to our new legal counsel, somehow it was within our mission that we could do this. Now, it wasn't a taking from.
Well, because we're not using ratepayer funds to fund this program. They're property tax funds. So the property tax funds don't have the same Proposition 218
Right.
rules.
Right, so we're still going through a different pot of money, but as Director Roman was explaining, the impact on staff to do our own thing, it was significant, and United Way already had this program in
Yeah.
place. And just talking to these people on the phone sucks up hours,
Mhm.
you know, no offense, but it
Yeah.
does.
Mhm.
And so they call, United Way handles it. Bada bing, we've given them the money.
And can provide them other resources, I'm sure. So that makes sense, right? Yeah.
They give them all
Yeah.
sorts, so it's
Mhm.
just, it's another win-win.
Just quickly, just follow up. I'm sure there's a lot for us to talk about here, but I've asked this one time before. How much in late fees does the district take in? So I'd be curious to know. Remember, I've asked that once before. I'd be curious to know how much we get in late fees from ratepayers. Then also I'd be curious to know how much we get in late fees from property taxes. And you don't have to tell me now unless it's right there in front of you, but.
Yeah, it's actually on I have one that I'm preparing for the next meeting.
Okay, it can wait till then. It's fine.
On the accounts receivable report, I
Okay.
am including the late charges that we're applying there. So I want to say it's in the neighborhood of 10 to 13,000 a month in our late fees
Whoa.
that we apply to.
Whoa.
This is different than what Kathleen was talking about, late fees on property
Right,
tax.
that's just our revenue, right?
Yeah.
So it's 100,000.
And those late fees, are those subject to Prop 218?
Actually anything, so my understanding, and again, we have different legal counsel now than we did back then.
Jeff could tell us probably.
Yeah, my understanding was that we could utilize that money that was coming from other sources like property taxes to fund these types of programs. However, in our rate study, we have included property tax revenue in large part to fund or to reduce the rates for all the ratepayers. So we haven't set it aside from our rate calculations. Now, however, I think Jeff could weigh in on this. We have talked about when this came up, I think the last time in 2020-ish, when we brought this back for the change from $50 a year to $100 a year. I think Jeff had said that anything the board deems to be to the benefit of the ratepayers could potentially be authorized and not a gift of public funds. And Jeff, do you want to chime in on that?
I mean, yeah, certainly can. There's a lot of different concepts that are being discussed right now, and I believe my recollection, and it's been a while. I wasn't necessarily reviewing our discussion on that, but my recollection is that because it comes from property taxes, it is at discretion of the district how you use that. You do use the property taxes as well to reduce your rates and charges for water. But your rates and charges for water are the rates that you have subject to Prop 218. There's Prop 226 restrictions on your capacity charges, but your property taxes do not have a restriction, the same restrictions that you have with others. However, you always have the issue of gift of public funds that are involved, but as you mentioned, as Ann just mentioned a moment ago, it's up to the board to decide whether or not it's within your mission. Obviously, someone can make, if it relates to water and water service, it is within the boundaries of the district. If you came up with something arbitrary, obviously, someone could challenge that particular decision. But the gift of public funds is really up to the board to decide where those funds should go. So by you approving the program, you make that determination. I don't know if that helps.
I
or not,
apologize.
but it's a number of different concepts out there that are involved.
I apologize. I had a little ADHD drift right there. And did you say, Jeff, that late fees are part of that or no?
Late fees relative to the payment of property taxes?
No, late fees relative to revenue, our monthly.
Payment of our bills,
late
yeah,
payment
customers.
bills.
Our
Is that
bills.
Prop 218 or is that, because that's something we levy on them. That's not the water use.
It is a fee that's charged, so it would be Prop 26 typically. I'd have to look at that. I've not looked at that particular question. It wouldn't be Prop 218 necessarily because it's not a charge for water use. It's certainly going to be Prop 26, but I'd have to look at that if you wanted to have that specific answer as to what restrictions might apply there.
Do you consider those restricted or unrestricted funds? The late fees on our revenues?
Oh, no, it's all again included.
One account,
When we calculate the
Okay.
rates. So we
Okay.
consider those late fees
Revenue.
revenues that offset rates that we would increase otherwise.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, in other words, if for some reason we were able to set those aside, then it would have an impact on the rates in a negative way.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty common, up in I think in one of your reports, Copper Mountain Mesa up there, when it came to the property tax bills, there was a very large percentage of people that were not paying their property tax bill on time. And that over a period of years, the payments were made because of transfers of the property and stuff like that, which required, their liens and all that kind of stuff. I thought my brain is telling me it was like 12% of the people were late in making their property tax payments.
Yeah, initially, that's right.
Really, it was surprising. So anyway, to say that there's a substantial amount of money in late fees that we collect, it's just part of a bigger picture of people in a community that's got a large population of people, what, 23% or something that are below the poverty line. These things happen. Comes down to the fact that we need money to deliver water.
Well,
It's late fees.
yeah, so I would just like to say, and this is probably the third time I've said this, but I could just absolutely cry thinking about this couple whose house I stopped at when I was campaigning. And they had gotten a $400 water bill and there was no redress for them because of this $700 limit. And I don't know if they were told about the United Way or not. I know that we went and did a water survey there and I'm sure that the district did everything they could for them. But, there are people that we're a disadvantaged community. And I don't know if those examples that you showed us for what other districts do are disadvantaged communities, but $700 just seems too high to me for our disadvantaged community. And I don't think sometimes it's a matter of responsibility or accountability. Now, I know you guys have said that it's the same people that come in and stuff like that. So I realize there's a lot of variables going on here. And I also recognize and appreciate that you guys like to help people. You know what I mean? I do appreciate that. And I definitely don't think, that's, you're not trying to help people, So I do recognize that, but I just can't get over these people that, maybe between them, they had $1,100 a month. And here we're gonna, they get a $400 bill and it's a big surprise. And, I just think if other ratepayers.
About this?
Huh?
Aren't we this is a topic that we are discussing. I have some input.
Right. So I'm just saying, the recommendation to maintain it as it is, I'm just want to share with my fellow board members, perhaps we can, expand the United Way thing. I don't know if we can or not, and shift some of that burden and pay them a bigger administrative fee. I just want to, do something where we can figure this out. And I'm sure you guys have considered these things, but anyway, thank you. I am kind of crying a little bit about those people, so.
Well, that was decided on back then. So when this came up, the per unit calculation was only $460. So the difference had to be $400. They changed it to $700 difference when the rate per unit was still $460. So that difference actually took customers 152 units of water to reach that.
Right.
Now that this is higher,
Yeah.
the difference has stayed the same.
Oh, yeah.
Like 2018
Right.
numbers, even though this has increased, therefore it takes less units of consumption to reach that difference. So.
Okay, so
I
talk to me
understand
like I'm
your-
in fourth grade because I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So if it's 72 units, then they're hitting it.
They're reaching this
Step-
sooner.
Right. So that's bad for them, isn't it?
That's good for
That's
them.
good for them.
Well, good for them, then I'm not getting this.
Where it used to take this many units of water.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
There would have to be a much larger leak before than now.
But
Okay.
this is the top rate per unit,
No, it's the second highest rate.
because mine's 840, I think it is.
This is the rate that the cap is calculated on.
And
Not-
Prop
not eight.
19 says we have to
Oh.
charge everybody the same amount. So, right? There's nothing we can do for people that have proven disadvantage, that are, on a fixed income, that are seniors or anything. We can't do a senior rate or anything like that.
Not to
No.
my knowledge, but.
No, you cannot.
Okay.
So what
Correct.
happens,
You can-
so,
It's actual cost of service. So
Can I-
you
can
can
I
charge
ask
the
you-
actual cost.
Can I ask a question before we get into the numbers? I had some other
It's a
things.
workshop. It's.
Yeah, well, we're getting into the weeds before we talk about the sky. I don't know. I'm wondering how people, let's see, it was July and August, that I was helping a nonprofit and there was a major leak. And I never heard, I think I did hear that it was possible to make payments. But then you also got another bill that you're paying on top of that, so
Right.
it's a problem. And then, I'm not sure how people are aware that this is even available.
It's on the website under community assistance.
Well, I mean, when they call and say, I've got a leak and I don't know how I can afford it, wouldn't customer service tell them that to check or something? Cause I don't recall having that information when I was inquiring about this major bill. And I just wonder how people find out that it's available. And then, and that they have a choice to make payments and you negotiate how much the payments are. Could it be $10 a month or $50 a month?
Do
or,
they have
you
to
know?
ask about that, or is it, if
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's my question is,
We constantly
Okay.
talk about all the options that we have. If it's completely understood, I'm not sure, but we do our due diligence to talk about as many things as we can. I hear them all the time, talking about United Way, I'm talking about it,
yeah,
talking about payment plan. If they're not eligible for CAP, we recommend
well,
payment plan. Or
yeah, I saw after I left that nonprofit, I saw the bills were paid large amounts. I never saw payments. So I'm not even sure the word got to them. And that's my question. I wasn't
It's not
sure.
primary residence, right?
No, it wasn't.
it was
It's
a
a nonprofit.
organization, yeah.
Yes,
a
they could
nonprofit.
Be eligible for the.
Not
CAP
eligible.
Or United Way, but they could be eligible for a payment.
Payments.
Yes.
Apparently they didn't look into that. I would have if I'd continued there, but I wasn't aware of the details of the CAP program. I think when I was asking questions about the possibility of allowing people who had major leak bills that they didn't know, it wasn't their fault or they didn't know how it happened, which was the case in the nonprofit. That the bill could be charged at the lowest unit rate rather than the highest one, because that's, yeah.
But we're
that
not
was the
doing
thing
That's
that
something that we offer though.
I know it isn't.
Okay,
I know it isn't. That's.
We could do
my
that.
Question
I
is
missed
whether
it.
anybody does that, or I thought I heard the Bighorn did it, but
They do, that she told me
Well,
that.
okay, but
Marina told me that.
yeah, I understand. I thought I heard that, but we haven't discussed it, and I was hoping to discuss some of that too. But I wanted to be clear what this CAP program is, because it's kind of new to me. I didn't have personal needs for it, so I didn't explore it. But,
And it wasn't explained in any of our onboarding as a board. That would be a great thing to add. Just me thinking. Anyway, go ahead.
no, yeah, no, I agree with that. And, you
It's in
know,
the rules and regulations, but I agree, this was not fully explained with all the different programs that we have. But that's why we're here tonight, is to talk about the programs that we
yeah,
have.
that's why I wanted to start
And,
from that
yeah,
level.
get
rather
an
than-
idea, the temperature from the board of what we need to bring back for your consideration.
Are there two considerations, one being United Way and one being CAP?
They're separate, but we put them
Yeah.
together because they are two programs that we do have that are of assistance to customers. And because the CAP program is so unique and we could not find any others in the
Right.
districts served who are also in low income areas that offered it. We're one of the only, that is what we found out, which was really surprising to me. So that was why our recommendation was not to change it, but we're open to, the board's input and what direction the board
Yeah,
would like
this-
to
So
go.
the
The tier
965,
two- Tier two, right?
tier two,
Yes.
okay, it's not three at least.
No.
Okay.
So I have a quick question. Does anybody here in the room, please raise your hand if a $700 bill would have a major impact on you as a ratepayer?
Well, yeah,
Right, okay,
But-
so I'm just,
but you could do payments.
I know, I'm just
Yeah,
saying that,
Top of your regular.
Yeah, no, I
like your
understand that.
regular bill.
But I don't know
and,
what,
and I-
negotiate the monthly payments. For the,
Well,
arrears.
the way the rules and regs read is that we can go 6 months for a payment plan is what we try to stick to. The
Oh.
longer you go, the less likely you are to recover those fees, especially if people move on, and that happens a
Right,
lot. So,
right.
we don't want to have aging debt sitting on our books.
Right, but we have
So-
now shifted the burden of rentals and there's people moving on to the landlord, right? So if they would have to pick up that, wouldn't they?
That could be the case.
Wasn't
Well,
that
not
the
always.
case?
Not always, if the tenant agreement hasn't been signed, so some of those properties still have not turned over, so we do it when they turn over.
Okay, all right.
Director Short has his hand raised.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to bring up another point to consider. I had a ratepayer in my area recently have a big leak. She qualified for CAP, but she was on auto pay. And they took her, the bill was automatically taken out, and that prevented her from even applying for the CAP. So is there a way that we could get something in the verbiage of this to say that in a situation like that, people have the ability to pause their auto pay?
Yes, they do have the ability to pause or auto pay. They would have to go on to their account and make that pause, so they can do that themselves, or they can contact the district and we can pause it. And oftentimes when we see something very, very high, we'll go in there proactively and pause it and contact the customer. So that one, I'm not sure why it was missed. It might not have met the threshold that we generally look at. I'm not sure.
Well, her normal bill was about $50 and it was $789.
Oh, goodness.
So again, I've asked that question before, seems like AI would be really handy for that. I've just always wondered how you guys are seeing it, right? I mean, to me, that seems such a burden on the individual to, and on the district to figure it out. Whereas maybe you guys, when you're looking at software upgrades in the future, there'll be some sort of plug-in that'll do that for you and flag it, just like, those electrodes are flagged and stuff, alarms.
I'm also confused by the numbers on the CAP. What you've got on the board there.
This is
The
just,
cap
this
is-
is historical.
Right, but that $6,761 was the total that was owed or paid,
Provided and relief
provided,
In
so paid
2000
out,
from the district.
right.
So the district provided, that was the
To
relief.
several customers.
Correct.
Yes.
In one particular year.
in what? Yeah, well, it
So
increased
this was
over the
just
years.
demonstrating
Yeah,
the increase. So in 2013, $609 was used for assistance. In 2017, 6,700 was used.
and currently the average is less than 5,000 a year.
The average since this year,
Yeah,
yes, and currently we are slightly higher than this now. 'Cause
This year.
like I said, we just had 2 that we approved today. So I'm not, I guess I'm undecided on what we should do with the cap currently, because we've assisted 100% of the customers that are eligible to receive the cap. So if they put in the information and they're eligible, we help them. The bulk of the applications that we get are for people that don't qualify and are
Right.
looking for some kind of cuts. So I'm not opposed to changing this, but we'd have to adjust the budget. We'd have to look at what type of funding we could use and if that would even be a possibility. So I'm all ears.
what kind of what kind of funds could we access? According to Jeff,
Property tax funds would
That's
be
it?
designated, that's all, I think, like, that's all we have for this.
Yeah.
but it looks like we have quite a bit more
No,
fees than 10,000 even.
right, but we talked about this one time, because I remember towers on our, we have revenue that comes in that's not ratepayer revenue. So like the towers on our reservoirs and stuff like that, or anything like that, where money's generated. Yeah, there's things that we
don't have towers.
I thought okay, well, anyway, yeah, you're right, we don't. But it seems like, what?
That comes along with an additional cost as well, because those towers, cell towers, are leases generally that are covered under GASB 87, which requires a whole extensive amount of accounting for. And so, another thing we'd have to outsource, just to, mention that it comes with a cost as well.
And GASB 87, that's Government Accounting Standard Board,
Right.
which establishes accounting rules generally accepted in the United States of America.
Yeah, folks do it. I mean, other agencies, some agencies do that. But we have, our property tax revenues are, this year, I think in the 900,000 to $1 million range. But we haven't carved out from that money, any more than these amounts that we've set aside. They are, like I mentioned earlier, they're included in what was factored into the rate study. And if you take out more, then it increases the rates. So, you certainly can do that, but it would have an impact on the rates depending on how much you carved out for other purposes.
So I have a question, David. When you said the bulk of people don't qualify, how do they not qualify for CAP?
They are short-term rental owners who find the application on the website and submit it.
Or nonprofits.
But is there?
It's primary residence only, the way the current.
Yeah, that's
policy-
it.
Right.
That's it.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to understand. So that, what percentage are STR owners compared to people that don't meet the $700 threshold? That's what I'm concerned about. Do we know?
I can look for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's just,
So
Yeah.
customers that would apply, but they happen to not meet this is.
that's what I'm concerned with, like, because people with the $400 bill.
I can-
And then remind us, because I don't see it in here, how often can somebody apply for this? Yearly? The cap yearly or several times? a year?
Received the cap twice in a 5-year.
Okay, twice in a five, and okay, so you could, and that would be an interesting thing to know. Then we would know how many people are repeating. That would just be curious. But anyway, again, I just want to say that I think that I would like the district to investigate perhaps, shifting some of this administrative burden for this to United Way and increasing the admin fee that we pay them. So that I would like to see us lower that $700 to, $500, $450 as a limit.
I don't think
What?
United Way would do the CAP program for us. It's
Okay.
a separate thing, but we could investigate a lower threshold as an option and also increasing the United Way, and then that gives two more generous options, same options we have, just at different levels. And we may not, especially this fiscal year, have to raise our budget because we still have not even exceeded it on either
Right.
one.
And are unlikely to by July. Yeah.
To just juice up the discussion, I'm considering recommending United Way be $300 and the cap be $500.
So I have a question. If it's
Those are-
300 and the bill is 150, is a credit for the difference, so their next month bill is free potentially? How would that look?
And if they close.
Oh.
And if they close their account, they get a deposit, a refund?
My understanding is that it would cover the bill, and my
Yeah.
bill is under 100.
So maybe it's a
I didn't get
maximum of
100, I got the
300.
bill.
But what doesn't exceed the current bill?
Yeah. Oh, because as it is now, they get the whole amount?
Well, right now it's $100 and oftentimes.
Oh, okay, it's usually always $100.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So if we increase it, we just have to think about those other pieces. If they close out their account and they leave, we don't want to send a deposit check for the difference.
And again, and so the United Way, what are the limits on that? How many times a year can they do that?
Once a year.
Once a year, okay.
So is this, moment, Kathleen?
Uh,
The amount that we get from the delinquency charges or fees, whatever it would be called,
Late fees.
late fees.
On
thank you.
property taxes.
Thanks, David. Is that fairly consistent, the amount that we get, or are there variations in that?
I'm not looking at the late fees on property taxes at all. I mean, that may have been how it was specified back from the prior council. My understanding is that the property taxes themselves, not late fees. We don't see any differentiation between property taxes and late fees that are paid to us. So I have no way of knowing how much. Now I know what are delinquent property taxes that are paid, but I don't know how much in late fees they paid. So I mean, I'm sure there's probably some way to, to calculate that, but it's not something that I've had to look at. We look at the property tax revenues as a whole and use that
Okay, which is something like $600,000.
between 900,000 and $1 million this year.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
What you said, but that's property taxes as a whole. That's not
property taxes.
that's not just delinquency. Yeah.
I think you said 10,000 or something.
No, that's on revenue.
Revenue.
Because remember, it's not property tax late fees. I think the majority of that, I mean, I'd have to do more research into that, but I think the majority of that's going to the county because we only get our small cut. Remember, the property tax arrangement is kind of a mysterious thing. And so of what the county collects, we get some portion of that. So I don't think they're passing through their delinquent charges. I mean, I can tell that the property taxes we're receiving were paid late, but we don't necessarily get those delinquent charges.
Well,
And just off the top of my head.
one of my concerns is that we can't make the assumption that there's a bunch of people that are below the poverty line and then everybody else is rich.
Right.
There's gonna be kind of a line there, or survivability line. And you couple that with how the money that we increase for these programs has to come from somewhere.
Right.
And that somewhere is not getting funded anymore the way it was, so something's gotta, and the overall effect could be that we're helping some, but then we're putting others in danger. Is, so the source of the money is something that I would be wanting to specify, make sure that we're not creating a whole new class of people that can't pay their water bill, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kathleen?
I don't understand what,
We're talking about.
yeah, I don't understand what you're saying, creating a whole new class of people that can't pay their
But-
water bill. What
but-
do you mean when you say that?
Well, that there's
Does
people
say
that are,
question?
Yeah, but I have information, because I just went through the process. You don't have to be the poverty level. It's a higher than the actual poverty level that you have to prove. It's like, I mean, it's over 2,000 a month or something, the income. You know, I forget what the number is, but, huh?
For one person,
Yeah.
it's got
for-
a chart.
it changes per
There's a
person
chart.
in the household.
Yeah, but it's not just poverty at the poverty level is like 12,000 or something. And,
A year.
And remember, the cap is
No.
not dependent on low income. That's it's completely
Right,
separate.
You don't
right.
have to come in and prove your income or anything. It's just a.
Right.
Just that you fix.
It's just the United Way one.
I think what we're talking about though is that if we take away funds from the property taxes and devote them to a low income population, the rest of the population will be impacted because that funding will not be included in the rate study calculations. And so their rates have the potential to increase. So, and it depends, I mean, it might be very marginal, very nominal amounts, but it could be a lot depending on how much is devoted to these programs.
Well,
You
right,
said it better than I did.
right now, but right now it's set at $12,000 and I don't think, I mean, it's my opinion that, you know, I don't know that anybody could, I'm sure somebody could come and complain about that. But to me, that's a pretty small amount of money considering the budget of the district overall. So I don't know what percentage that would be, you know, what is 12,000 of the districts right off the top of your head?
Of the revenues.
No, but what
It's very
percent?
small.
I mean, would that be like what? Like,
12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
yeah, so see, come on.
6,000
That's
for
a-
the United Way as well.
Yeah, so I don't think we're, even 20,000. So I don't think if you do it like that, I don't think we're taking anything from anybody with that tiny of amount of money.
Yeah, keeping the budgets where they are and then changing the parameters of the programs. And then let's see how it works for the year.
Yeah.
And then from there, revisit the conversation.
And then I also think, although I know you guys have said this, you know, considering other ways and maybe monetizing it to get the word out that this exists. So, you know, I don't know what it would need to be, but you know, maybe something else.
Also, the state is working on other low income assistance programs that eventually, per regulation, are going to be, I imagine, you know, required at some point. So.
That we'll have to do? Oh, really?
I see.
Wow, there you go.
It's, yeah, legislative changes and then go away and then come back, but I don't think, once something gets there, it doesn't just go away forever, so I anticipate there'll be something coming down the pipe.
Again, I want to call to our moral center. You know what I mean? I think it's something that we have to think about. And I know you guys are thinking about it, but we have to think about that and not do something because it's gonna, you know, it's gonna hurt people in our perception. It's gonna hurt people but then when we look at the numbers, that's not true.
Well, what we're looking at is 1, 2, 3. I think it's about number 4 on our values, their fiscal responsibility. So we're going through this exercise because we're trying to do the right thing and do as much as we can with the money that we have. And we're being sensitive to the needs of the people that struggle within our town. So it is one of our values. So
It's our mission to provide Joshua Trees water, you know, and so, you know, we don't want to make, you know, somebody not be able to get water that, you know, because all these other people are going to be mad that they had to spend $1 extra a month.
Kathleen, you've been waiting to say something.
I just, as you move forward and rethink things, because right now it sounds like we're kind of working in the budget we have right now. We have CAP with parameters, we have United Way with parameters. We do not have anything for anyone that just simply had a bad day with water and they don't qualify for those two. Maybe a consideration would be a third category where maybe once every 3 years or something, a person comes in with this ungodly that happened, they don't qualify for CAP, they don't qualify for United Way, they will qualify for a payment plan for the next 2 years. But maybe it could be considered, since it's like once every 3 years or something, they're coming with this situation, that it be at the lower rate per unit when they come in. So we have 3 different programs to assist people, because there are a lot of people who don't fit in those two categories.
Well, who wouldn't fit in the cap if they had a bad day?
I had a bad day.
Well, you would qualify because you're a primary resident. So
But I
But the
wasn't at the 700.
threshold.
I asked.
So if the threshold were lowered, you would have qualified, right? If the,
It would have had been a lot.
a lot lower.
No, I think what was mine, almost $900? It was 900, but my highest bill was 400, so I was at this.
But the difference was-
500.
So 500 would have made the difference for you though.
Right,
Okay,
right, but there
so,
are others who've even been more.
but
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Oh,
because of the threshold though.
That threshold, and so there could be a third category.
I think the third category is exactly what the board's talking about, is lowering that
Yes.
threshold, because the only thing that we're gonna make you qualify is if you were an SDR. And I think it's been pretty clear that we didn't want, that you're not wanting to offer this to
No.
SDR.
To a business, to a
Or
business, yeah.
So if the threshold was lowered, it would have solved your problem and potentially yours without seeing your accounts, but I think that's the third that without adding more administrative burden and a whole nother program to manage, that we can do it within the program we have by changing the parameters of the program.
Would it take a new resolution to change it
It
from 700 to 500?
Well, yeah.
And assess and see.
but also at a different unit rate. Than the second.
So these are
That's what I was
legal
wondering, the
questions.
first,
So I
unit
think
rate.
it might be best for us to take this with your information, take it and analyze this. Work with Jeff
legally,
to
yeah.
make sure that we're
Yeah.
covering it correctly, and then we bring you back a proposal within, because I'm hearing 500, maybe 450, or, so you tell us
All
what
right.
kind of parameters you're looking at, let us go analyze it, and then bring you back what we think will
Yeah.
work.
I'd like to ask that, if you guys in your analysis, could we also consider what I've seen other utilities or other companies do, where they ask people to round up on their bill to help our less fortunate neighbors?
Well, that's interesting. Jeff, is that possible?
I mean, you can request, I guess you could have, it's basically a donation. I don't see why you couldn't have an option for someone to do that. It's not, you wouldn't be requiring it, so you're not charging beyond the actual cost of service.
Is it another
Determine
bookkeeping,
where does that go? Where does
a
that,
bookkeeping thing?
For that.
yeah, it's a great option. Where does it go? We'd have to talk about those.
It would go into a restricted fund, I would imagine, yeah.
For low income or.
And whether your billing system is currently set up to let you do that too. But
That's
that'd be a
true.
different issue. That's not a legal issue.
Could it just go into the cap account?
Well, yeah, good questions. So I kind of like that idea. I think that it would be a very interesting way, because a lot of people are willing to round up.
I do that for electric bill.
Yeah, so I think you guys have came up with some really great ideas.
Just I'm just writing down. So I have a roundup to look into and United Way increase or no?
Increase.
What
Oh,
number?
increase in the amount available for, not the total
300?
amount.
Is 300 within the same budget? We're not looking to increase the budget this time, but
Well,
within that budget.
Is this a one-time, that they can only have it one time in the United Way? I want, like,
It's up to 300, but not to exceed the current bill. Is that right? Okay,
oh, okay,
yeah. Because we don't want to put a credit, yeah,
right.
okay. But it's within the current budget, and then the threshold of the cap, 500?
And what she said, the investigation of the pricing, what level,
The lower tier?
The lower
Unit.
the
tier.
lowest tier, the
Okay,
lowest
okay,
tier.
so lowering to the cap to 500 and then recalculating to the lowest tier. Right now, we.
It's 840, isn't it?
Calculate it at the
Large meter.
large meter rate.
Right.
Really?
Well, yeah,
But in
The price of the
it's
water.
Less for
you
them.
know,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh, okay.
In the first tier. Hurt the customer, because it wouldn't take as many units to reach that difference threshold.
No, I
that's
think
what I'm wondering, are we doing units or amount of money?
that's just how it would be recalculated then at the lower tier rate, not to determine the threshold, but to determine what the
Charges.
back to.
The charge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
These, these people are not invisible, the ones that struggle. I forgot the name of it. It was a county program where people could get up to, what, a $50 donation from the county that had a booth at the farmer's market and,
Oh, yeah, but that is a once a year, it's the USDA.
okay,
Gives
USD.
out a $25 or $50 certificate once a year.
I'm sure that's not gonna be happening anymore.
So my
Well, and it's a
My
drop of the.
point is that we see these people parading across the front of our booth, going down there to line up to ask for
Oh,
these,
Yeah,
for this money so they can buy food
it's about to.
in the market. And so we see them doing this. And I think it was a week and a half ago now, I gave $40 to a guy at the market. And he said, oh, good, now I can pay my phone bill. And so we do, this is not something where it's all hypothetical and stuff. When we're out in the public, we're aware of this stuff. Josh.
Yeah, and my granddaughter couldn't pay her bill either, and I had to give her money.
And so, you know, this is a reality thing. And this isn't, I like to refer to these things that are on the vision, mission, values that show what we're all about. And this is real. And when we talk about fiscal responsibility and accountability, it's with the community in mind. And so this is all important stuff. And so it's worth spending this much time on. And if we can find a responsible way to help people without hurting others, then
Right.
And this kind of relates, I know it's late and we've been here a while, but this kind of relates, you know, my concern of these homeless people walking by the water district and they don't have any water. And, you know, it's 110 degrees. And so, you know, maybe not this year or something, but I would like for us to try to figure out something. I don't know if it's a voucher. I don't know what it is, because we obviously don't want RVs pulling up and filling up their tanks, but we would like to help people. And maybe it's, you know, they're using the water fountain. I don't know. I hope so. Busted.
Well, it shut
I
off.
thought we fixed it
No,
years ago.
Oh,
it was fixed. It's been many times.
Oh,
But I will let you know that Joshua Tree National Park Association, they have one of the stores right up here on Boulevard. And they're putting in, they contacted me
Oh.
and said, can we do this? And I said, you can do what you want on your property. They're putting in one of those fountains where you can put your water bottle up there and fill it up and they're gonna charge.
Oh, good.
for it.
That's great. That's great. Except that a lot of these homeless people live out this way. So anyway, I just,
they get water from Way Station too.
okay. I just thought you know, since we're talking about it, I thought I'd go ahead and just, you know,
There's a lot of resources, CMC.
mention it.
They have trucks that pull up once a month, I think.
Oh,
every
okay.
Couple of weeks and give food away.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
It's,
CMC,
there's a big,
college does?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
well, it's,
Thank you.
that's where it's housed. It's not the college giving it away, it's somebody else. that-
Okay. And so that could be drying up too.
So I think we have some consensus of where you want us to go. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So then we will have, if this all works out the way we're thinking, you know, some of the more generous programs, you know, in our region. So that it's something that you can definitely share with your ratepayers. And once it's all finalized, of course.
Maybe it could be something included in our article about the results of one of our meetings where we make a decision.
I like it.
Discussion over. At the end of the workshop, item 8, reports and comments. For informational purposes only on subjects not covered by the agenda, opinions of individual directors are not necessarily the opinions of the board or district staff. No action will be taken. The board may provide staff with requests for future agenda items. Vice President Doolittle.
Yeah, I just have a few things to say. One is obviously, you know, and I never talk about politics here. I really don't. And I'm sure it wouldn't be difficult for anybody to consider my political leanings, but I think that we're, you know, going to be facing some tough times here in the district. And, you know, I'm very concerned about the impact of losing some of these resources that we've had in the community and also the cost of product for the district as far as pipes and things like that go. And I hope that all of us here and those listening will, and listening to this in the future, will consider that when they're voting in the future. So I attended a couple things. I'll just quickly go through them. One was the Association of Special Districts meeting on February 24th. And so I really want to go here, and I'd like to see who would like to go with me. Ukaipa just converted to solar on their purification and sewage buildings with solar fields. They had a 20 million flat rate contract, and they own the system, and they have this flat rate. And the ribbon cutting is in March. I need to check their agenda. And they'll recoup their investment in 10 years, and it was a five-year long effort to do this. So again, you know, the board does have an appetite for solar. I'd heard that the district had said to a solar business person that the board had no appetite for solar, and I don't believe that's true. I do think we have an appetite for solar. So anyway, I'd like for us to, you know, who'd be willing to go and take a visit and see what they're doing there, because I think it'll make a difference. We could do that here. So then there was a biosolids presentation, and they actually, what they produce is Ukaipa, they have a wasn't it Ukaipa? I think so. They maybe not, but they produce enough every day that it would fill 64 Olympic pools. And they make a retail grade product, and it's sold as Soil Pro. Yeah, that was the Inland Hills Utilities Agency. That's who does this. And it helps reduce methane emissions from landfills by doing this. And it's the world's largest biosolids plant. And yeah, just a second, I'm just looking at my picture. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's a regional composting authority, and it is the Inland Empire Utilities Agency. And what's kind of cool in this biosolids thing, it's a microclimate inside, and it rains inside or fogs. So, and they actually move truckfuls like 160 scoops every day. So it's a lot. Okay, so anyway, I went to MWA, the Mojave Water Agency board meeting recently, and it was an economic report. They do a lot of those. And this said, one of the things I gleaned from this was all properties in their service area have increased in value since the pandemic. And they said, I like this phrase, they talked about their budget, and a budgeting is a marathon, not a sprint. And they're working on taking more of a long-term view for projects with better data, and reducing their water purchases, and how to manage the volatility in this, and the aspect of imported water management plan. Then they had some information on chlorination, what they're doing with that. And I learned a new thing, R-Cube. I'd never heard of that. And that's actually Regional Recharge and Recovery Pipeline. I had no idea what that was. So that was something new. They're doing an RFP for that, for a 2-mile pilot study. And they talked about joint bonding at 44-foot intervals. Let me just see if I can get out of this picture real quick. I had to do some notes on a piece of paper, and that was it. That's all for me.
Director Fick? Well, I went to the ASBC SDA meeting with Andy. And yes, this person who was giving the presentation was very proud of his company.
The biosolids, yeah.
Biosolids.
Yeah, he was.
He had his. He doesn't do, I mean, he just uses sewer sludge, pretty much, only sewer sludge, no greenery or anything like that. And he did emphasize the fact that they have their own weather system inside this large, huge warehouse. In fact, I think it's two levels. And they have these trackers and people in hazardous suits and all kinds of stuff. It's very interesting.
And it's supposed to be the very best, like, of all of their competition, the biosolids, that they're supposed to be the best. It's used on dates in India and all kinds of places.
And okay, so in the last 2 weeks, our little community has been on a national level, noticed on a national level. and on the politics side of things. So and that brings in the fact that, yes, we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months because our leadership in Washington DC is kind of wishy-washy in what they're trying to do. So that's a concern we have with our future finances right now. And I'm impressed by the entire board and staff here on the compassion they're giving towards our ratepayers. We're making an effort. We need to do that. And that's one of the reasons we delayed the increased decision on the approval for the rate study. That's what it's called. We've got to make the decision on April, but right now it's not looking good to give it approval, or we'll see. It's up in the air, literally up in the air. As far as what I mentioned about national level, yes, Joshua Tree, downtown Joshua Tree last Saturday had over 300 people at the Four Corners there. And, you know, it's pretty well documented and stuff like that. As far as other stuff going on, for Joshua Tree is appealing the decision by the county's planning commission.
NBCA is.
Well, yeah, okay, MBCA is, clarify, MBCA does a lot of things for Joshua Tree. And that's because MBCA probably has, I think, 4 directors
A bunch of comments.
in Joshua Tree. So anyway, that situation is literally up in the air right now because he's supposed to get back to me. The land use director, Wardlaw, is supposed to get back to me as to when the appeal date is happening. And so that's an ongoing situation, and
That's the Lovemore.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lovemore. So we'll see how that goes. That's
I'm sorry, I have one more thing I forgot to say. I just wanted to say, I ended up watching the video for the program for the board meeting that I missed. And I was just so impressed with our board of directors, you know, because I've watched some other board meetings and just how good everybody was. Jane, you were great. And, you know, Thomas, you were great. And I was so impressed that I get to be part of this group. So, but one thing I did want to mention is if we have 5 of these microphones, why don't we bring them down here? Because unfortunately, we're the ones that do most of the speaking here, but we hear you guys so much better than we hear us. So, to me, it seems like we should be better mic'd than you guys. Well, online, we can hear you guys much better, much clearer than what it
yes,
sound like.
yes.
And we are the ones that speak the most.
And sometimes it's hard to hear Tom.
Why don't we put 2 down in the next meeting and give it a try and see how that works so that we can get a balance, or 3 down?
Okay, and again, and I don't know what the possibilities are, but it sure would be great when people come and speak to the microphone, if we could see them somehow. And also, if anybody's speaking, and this includes Kathleen and you, David, and stuff, I would prefer that you guys sit within camera view, because it just makes sense that people that are speaking are seen.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Dr. Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I want to second what you're saying, because I've watched also several of them, and I would like to see who's speaking. Anyway, over the last month or so, I had to re-up my ethics training for the board. And it was excruciating to go through that class while I was watching what was happening in the federal administration. No joke. And I have to comment on the latest challenges Trump and Musk are heaping on US citizens in our community and friends and families. And I will not stay silent. I have to say something here or wherever I am. And it is excruciating and dangerous for everybody in this room and the district. And I think what is being advised is that we don't hide from it, that we speak out and make our opinions known. And I guess that's all I want to say in that. But had a couple other things. I did want to say that I have been enjoying simple pleasures by watching two chicks. I'm not quite sure what the technical
Eaglets.
of eaglets of the Big Bear bald eagles. It is amazing and refreshing. I just put it on, leave it on my TV behind everything that I'm doing at home. And it's a blessing at this point in time. I recommend it for everybody. Also, I had won an orchid at one of our past meetings, and it's reblooming, and I have never had one rebloom. And I've also posted about this, so take advantage of simple pleasures at this time, because it is troubling times. And I also appreciate this district and the staff and people that are coming to our meetings. I'm really happy that you're doing that. And oh, next week, I'm gonna do something fun too. I am going to attend an educational tour that takes place over 4 days and 3 nights. Touring the Colorado River, the southern Colorado River, and it begins in Las Vegas, goes to Laughlin and Winter Haven, ends up in Salton Sea. We went like 3 years ago and had a really good tour of the Salton Sea, and I'm looking forward to being updated what's going on there. And I paid for this tour myself because I really wanted to go. I've been very curious about the politics of the 4 states that are sharing the Colorado River. And I also want to be more informed about who gets to access that. It's not us, the river water. And it's in the back of my mind, I'm also going to be educated so I can speak to this Lovemore situation. As to, you know, when they finally come to us and start talking about what their water needs are, I want to be more educated as far as the Colorado River issue.
And Cadiz selling water to the Imperial Valley, you know, or desert water.
Yeah, but I don't know that much. I don't know as much about it as you do. But I am very interested in what's going on with the Colorado River, so. I'm looking forward to that. It's next week, Tuesday to Friday. And so maybe at our next meeting, I'll do some kind of report.
Director Short?
Yeah, I didn't attend any extra meetings in between the last one. I want to say I do want to attend that Ukaipa solar farm.
Okay,
If you get the dates to it. As long as it's not the last week in March, I should be fine.
okay.
I want to say I appreciate the board's comments just now. It's good to hear that. Yeah, I'm upset I wasn't able to make it tonight, but yeah, that's all for me.
Well, I've been monitoring your image on the screen there, and it's pretty apparent that you are suffering greatly.
Yeah.
And
Are
tonight's
you talking
meeting.
to Jeff or to
Talking to
Thomas?
The one blowing his.
Jeff has remained conscious. I'm probably that too. But tonight's meeting was very taxing, and my regard for you is even higher now for your dedication for blowing your nose on the. Oh, I won't say more about that. Anyway, I've just done a couple of things. Kathleen excused me from the market last Saturday to go to Copper Mountain Mesa and attend their breakfast. And it was chaos in there as usual. Tremendous crowd of people in there. And I was able to probably talk to about six people on different things. And my overriding issue, Kathleen would notice this too, that it's disaster preparedness. And I was trying really hard to scare the hell out of people, and I think I managed to do it a few times too. Belfield Hall, they're gonna have that up in Landers, they're gonna have a meeting on, I think it's gonna be on Monday the 10th. Think of it.
I think I'm going. I have it in my calendar.
We were
Well, I'll pick you up. But it's an excellent meeting up there. And one of the things that irritated me the last time, I don't know if I spoke about this or not, was that they didn't know that they were supposed to have some sort of a nonprofit certificate of some kind, and they didn't know for several years. And they realized that something was amiss, and they made an inquiry with, I guess it's the state, on how to do that. Well, then now the state is aware that they've been in existence for several years without having that certificate. And so they not only, I think they're gonna have to pay the arrears, but they're also gonna have to pay a $500 fine of some kind, which I don't think that's appropriate myself, that they're running they're getting their income from a secondhand store. And the state wants to punish them for not filling out a form for 5 years. It just sort of bothered me. At any rate, though, I guess at least one of us, probably two of us, are going to go to the next meeting up there. I can't really recall what, because there's a water report too. That's a relevant part of all this. And I think it was just a matter of the housekeeping things, and also the restrictions on our ability to lay pipe with this new conservation act about Joshua trees, whatever you call the thing. And so that's a big issue up there too. Marina complained about the difficulty of trying to maintain her water system up there. That's the general manager, for those that don't know. Because of these, you could say possibly over enthusiastic or idealistic restrictions on stuff, but it's not necessarily permanent yet. The manager's report.
All right, well, I want to report some good news. USWA EPA money for our chromium-6 analysis is back. So we have our meetings rescheduled and we're getting back on track with that. Our next meeting is March 17th. So we were very happy to hear that.
Spend it quickly.
I know, before I know, sure. The Cover Mountain College, if you recall, I've been for 9 years now asking them to have water classes. Their district's board approved the classes at a recent board meeting, and they're now at the state chancellor's office awaiting approval. Once they're approved, CNC will begin the hiring process for instructors for those water classes. There are 5 classes in total: the water fundamentals, a distribution, a treatment, a wastewater, and a career pathways in water course. And I've been asked to sit on their career panel at CNC to help educate new students on the water industry and advocate for those classes after 9 years of pressing. So excited about that. Multiple water agencies, you see a packet on your dais with a letter, and you can see a lot of different logos at the top. This is another collab with Community Water Systems Alliance. This is exhausting some administrative efforts to advocate for our water agencies to receive some state funding for chromium-6. This last week, I attended a meeting that was organized by CWSA and met with SWRCB Chair Joaquin Esquivel. He heard us out about the monies that we need for chromium-6. And unfortunately, as you know, the state doesn't have funding very much available, and the overall impression was that they're not prioritizing chromium-6. In fact, they're focused on other contaminants that they deem more critical. It was valuable to share with him and staff, our concerns about our severely disadvantaged communities and these costs that are going to be associated with chromium-6 next Monday. I am also meeting with all the rest of the board members from SWRCB, and in May going up to Sacramento to talk to them as well. So really advocating with the state to try to find funding for chromium-6. I attended the county meeting just on the 26th with that's hosted by Dawn Rao. She puts together a leadership meeting that we meet once a month with the sheriff and pretty much all the leadership in Morongo Basin when it comes to general managers and CEOs, et cetera. And it's a pretty informative meeting, and it's nice to make those contacts, for instance, with the fire department. And this time I met with a lady from the Office of Emergency Services. So in light of the emergency preparedness, and that provided us some opportunity for David to be attending a course upcoming on emergency preparedness. So that was a good connection there. As you know, we have GeoViewer. That's our program that we use for our mapping program. We get all sorts of reporting out, and we've noticed several issues with GeoViewer, and we've been working with GeoViewer to organize that and basically reorganize the entire platform. It's been very successful so far. We're in our 5th meeting with them. We'll probably have a few more. So really happy at the end of all this that we're going to get proper reporting out of there, and it's going to work for our staff in a way that's never worked before. So that's ongoing. And then finally, I met with Tim Worley, who is also at CWSA, and we started working on the annual business plan as a supplement to the strategic plan. And I plan to bring that forward during their upcoming budgeting process. And then lastly, the director requests form that we have in here, we're gonna trim it down to what's just left over instead of just carrying forward the old list. So that'll be forthcoming. But I'd like to merge that into the business plan and to the strategic plan. It's hard to have all these lists of to-dos because it's a lot to manage, and I know that you would appreciate that. So anyway, we'll bring it forward because I don't want things to be forgotten when they're requested, but we need to talk about them strategically so that we can, obviously, we want to accomplish your goals and mission for the district. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Future meeting, director meetings are listed on the last page of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
My second. Oh, you second. You never
Get out of
second.
here.
Go ahead.